Yeah. does. Search, but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the fire that beats the moon. I'm the sun that will not move. Do you think you are? Who do you think you
Welcome, one and all, to the RSC EU Season 11 Week 1 League Play. Now, you may have noticed something a little bit different about tonight's broadcast, and that is that I'm on my own for the time being. We may get someone in at some point, but the show must go on, and I am more than happy to carry the torch if and when necessary. Now, if you are just joining us for the first time in the RSC, the way that it works generally is that we have 3 matches on each night. Each league play stream, that is, and it can be from any of the tiers from Prospect all the way up to Premier, and there'll be 3 on tonight, 3 different tiers. Challenger will be up first, moving all the way up into Master and then eventually into Elite. But we must begin with the aforementioned series. In Challenger will be Crusaders versus Masai, even 2 teams that started decently well at the beginning of this season. Crusaders drew with Kajeo, and Masai ended up sweeping out Shrine. So decent start for both sides. Obviously, Crusaders wanted to move up and onwards and get a win on the board to start positively in the first week. And it shall be interesting to see whether or not they're capable of doing that. But based on that first match that they had, they seemed inconsistent against Kajeo, or Kajeo, however you pronounce it. They won game 1, they lost game 2, they won game 3, and they lost game 4. And as you can see here, the team stats between the 2 teams. They don't have much at the start of the season, of course. They've only played 1 series. It's their second of the week. But already it seems like Masai looking to be the stronger of the 2 sides. Still the goals for, very, very similar, as are the goals against. A lot more saves on the side of Masai, though, so that may lead to some conclusion that they're having to defend a lot more. They're either better at defending or they're at their worst in midfield at stopping the shots before they even happen. But the one that stands out to me the most is the demo stats. 50 for Masai and only 28 for Crusaders, of course. The lovely thing about these stats, everybody has to play the same amount of games. Every single team plays the same amount of games. They both played 4, and Masai seemed to be the stronger of the 2 sides coming out of their first series. Let's move on to the individual player stats as well, of course. Paul and Suki have not played any games, as it was only the first series that has been played out. But as it stands there, Wairo, 11 goals in 4 games, 18 goals in total over that series against Shrine. And it was a 73% shooting percentage. He shot 15 times, scored 11. Absolutely crazy stats to begin the season in the first 66 saves in 1 series. Absolutely crazy. But we'll have to see whether or not they can continue to do that against Crusaders, who'll be desperate to get a win on the board. Going to the power rankings, though, and what we did at the beginning of the season to figure out the casters' predictions, especially what they came up with. Crusaders were 8th in the power rankings and Masai in 6th. And that was a big difference looking at that, at what they were capable of doing, what they actually started out in this week. And it should be fascinating to see what they're capable of doing, considering what they've done already and how they could continue on throughout the season. As we all know, the first 2 weeks can really be a marker, can really be a stepping stone towards the further into the season, or it's a place that you want to kind of regain, maybe figure yourselves out a little bit. Preseason sometimes isn't enough time for teams and players to figure themselves out and each other, the tactics they want to employ. But as I said, it's already looking like a strong start for Masai, and I believe we have most of the players in the lobby, if I'm not mistaken, and we will be able to get underway relatively soon. I'm sure you are just as desperate to get on with things as I am, and I'd love to start seeing some Challenger gameplay in the RSC this season. Of course, we will be starting out on Manfield Night, the wonderful time-tested arena that these two teams and 6 players even will be facing off against each other first of all. And I'm just looking forward to one that's going to be, exciting because it's the start of the season. We don't really know what to expect. We have seen Masai sweep Shrine, but it's always kind of hard to tell with that first series which way it's going to go, especially in a chaotic tier, should we say, an unpredictable tier as Challenger. You don't know what they're quite capable of coming out with. Mechanics can seem to dominate it at times. And especially Wyro with those 11 goals, if you can keep that consistency in striking, then we could end up seeing a rout here for Crusaders. But they'll have to bounce back, fight hard, and then we'll continue to play on that vein, and hopefully they'll be able to get a result here tonight. But my own personal prediction, I probably think Masai take this in a 3-1. I don't think Crusaders will take it lying down. Could even go to a 2-2 if Crusaders can keep up that consistency. As I said, I thought they were a little bit inconsistent in their first series, but if they can just keep that going game to game, because they scored a lot of goals in the games that they won, so they were clearly good enough to keep that pressure up and keep things going. But yeah, we'll try and get the players into lobby as soon as possible. Get into this gameplay and get some RSC action going for you. Now, I have no idea if anybody's going to be joining me in the booth. I hope so at some point, as it's fun to solo cast, but you can't do it constantly. I'm gonna strain myself, but I do it for you guys. I do it for the league, and hopefully the players can do it for the league and themselves as well. As we get underway with the first game of this series, set of 4 series, of course. In the RSC League play, as always, Crusaders versus Masai. Hendrik, Blizzy, and Raids on the blue side. Fort Templar against Wyro, Porp, and Zax on the Shaman Esports side. In the red, it's the first opportunity for Crusaders. Goes begging Zax to follow up his own touch off the post. Porp follows up as well, but completely misses the ball. Crusaders get away with the first attempt. If I'm not mistaken, I believe someone has joined me in the booth. I heard the Discord ping. I'm not going to reveal who it is until they speak, because I'm just that kind of guy. I like surprises. I'm sure Crusaders don't like being surprised by some of those shots, though. A great attempt by Wyro to try and pad some more of his own goal scoring stats. Back into the midfield. Hendrik doing well to push this one forward. Blizzy waiting in the wing to try and pick up any sort of kick out to the mid, but it's gone the wrong direction. Easy enough for Rage to pick up, though. Backboard bounds. Zax just about gets a pinch away. Keep it away from the encroaching, pressurized offense of the Crusaders. Another great attempt by Blizzy. Wyro this time, the defender, stopping it on the line. Still pressure on. Rage to attempt something off the backboard once more. Blizzy gets a slight touch forward, but it wasn't quite enough power to get it past the disrupted Porp. Now back up the other side of the field. He can't finish a chance of his own. Almost a minute and 30 seconds in, and it really looked quite even so far.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is me who has joined in late.
Oh no.
I will let you continue with the talk for a moment until I get into this lobby.
That's exactly why I didn't want to say who it was. You gotta love the surprise. I'm sure everybody loves hearing Senji in the booth, as I do. Whoever's a fan of Crusaders doesn't like to see that, though. Inconsistency in striking. Now had 7 shots Crusader. None of them have ended up being that dangerous. Of course, a couple off the post. Decent saves from Wyro, Zax, and Porp. The most from Wyro at 3. This one back into the midfield. No one wanting to commit to it, and an easy pickup for Hendrik. Low boost means he's forced to go on the dribble game. Pushed into a 50 back into this corner, but Blizzy's still on it. Throws it away momentarily. Allows Wyro to get it out. A lot of space used up there. Hendrik misses completely, and Wyro did not expect it. So it's allowed Raids a free shot. That's off target, but it's going to get another chance. Doesn't get the angle right. It hits the defender anyway. Blizzy looking to fake out, gets beaten by Zax. But it just seemed to be a continual back and forth with neither side having that much control. Just hitting and hoping from the edge of the box. Hoping that one of these defenders eventually misses. It will be Wyro to continue through this corner. Gets the touch out. It's awkward for Zax to deal with, thankfully. His teammates on the back post. Problem dealt with for now. It's Hendrik to continue that pressure. Try and get it back into the mid. Zax has enough boost to deal with it. I don't have to get it past Raids, however. Pop and Blizzy make a 50. Back into the middle. No one is there. Lack of communications from Crusaders is wasting away their opportunities. The few that they might have had in this series as you believed at the beginning, but they've actually had a lot more shots than Messiah, spent a lot more time on offense, but it's still not enough. 5 saves from Wyro now. Might have been expected to be a goal scorer in this series, but he's ended up being a stalwart defender to keep Messiah in this, and it could just end up going to 1 goal, going down to 1 goal in an overtime or not. We shall have to see. But still, not much to say that Messiah deserved to control this series yet. Zendrick back to the midfield again, looking for that backboard, and Zach is going to miss it. Pop is in the right position to deal with any sort of follow-up, gets demoed for his troubles, and Blizzy taking so much time with a great attempt on the use of boost, gets a demo for the work as well. Endrick to be called off by Raids, and finally, with a minute left to go, Crusaders break on through. It only took 10 shots to do it, and it took 7 saves from Masai to deny it, but they will not deny it forever. They finally get one through. Masai looking like the ones that need to struggle against Fort Templar side that did struggle in their last series, as I already mentioned. 2-2 against Kajeo. They struggled in the first game, but then they dominated in the second, and it just continued to go back and forth like that. Whether or not this is a much more well-matched series. 2 teams that understand each other just that little bit more, even in the beginnings of this season, the early moments of league play. Only time could continue to tell, but right now, all we could say is that Crusaders are the ones in control. Still, this was a big miss by Endrick, allowing Pop to get it to the back ball. Maybe looking for that pinch. Play the fast ball, but it fakes out a couple defenders. No one there to follow up on the touch. However, Wyro was not expecting it. He's forced to pinch this himself to get something out of this offensive opportunity, but Raids to fake out both of them. He's still got boost as well, a teammate in tow. He managed to get back in time to disrupt him, and Zax has to stop it on the line. With seconds left to go, it's in the wrong half of the field for Masai. If they could keep the control of this ball, keep it up, no, it's just going to be Blizzy and Endrick to find the ground together. And they just about hang on to their graces, it seemed like. Crusaders, they only got 1 goal. Could have gone either way, Sanji.
Oh, it definitely could have, especially with that last second save there by the Crusaders. That could have definitely by the Masai. But yeah, I'm finally in the lobby, finally here, finally ready. I hope you enjoyed your first game solo casted.
I've done it before. I wouldn't say I'm used to it, but I don't mind it. It's something different. You know, you should be experienced in all manners of this, whatever it is that you're doing, have the ability to do it. But I'm glad that you are here, Senji, joining me to continue on with this series, potentially more throughout the night. But that first game, very, very interesting one for me. I thought Masai might take this 3-1. I also thought it could go to a 2-2, and you know, either result is still on the cards, but it would mean that Masai have to control this series so much better. They were pinned into their own half constantly. They only got 3 shots off compared to almost 12 from Crusaders. So the fact that they struggled so much to break out of their own half, control the ball, and especially the boost game was a big surprise to me. Then I'm not sure what they are capable of doing, because something that is close to your heart, they got 50 demos in their first series, in 4 games, their last series. Absolutely incredible.
How many? 15 or 50?
50, 5-0.
50. Okay, good. They
series.
didn't get to my record. They didn't get close to my record. That's good.
That is a shame. I mean, it's wonderful for you, of course.
No, that's important
I assumed
stuff.
you'd be impressed. Didn't see nearly
I
as many.
mean, my personal record in a series is 48, so 50 as a team is, well, it's good. Don't get me wrong, I love it. you gotta get them demos, but without those demos, I don't think Masai has a chance, because, as you say, on the side of Crusaders, they are very demo heavy, and it can disrupt any team that isn't prepared for it. Although Beefcake is not on the field, so that might be mitigated.
It's a factor that's not under consideration at this point in time, thankfully, for Crusaders' sake. Whether or not disruption, the demo meta, is what Masai need to lean on. Otherwise, they're just hoping that Crusaders make a few more misses like that. Zax didn't quite capitalize on the opportunity. Still control in defense, something so important for Masai to think about. The amount of times that they got struck just offhandedly. Not even a deliberate attempt, as this one was. A great looking pass opportunity. It was a little too slow. Easy enough for that offense to, the defense even, to read, as was this one from Pop. Great play up the field as well. Counter opportunity. Endrick didn't have the boost. Raids to follow it. And Wyro to read it. Still so much pressure on. And Raids getting sort of unlucky there. Threw himself into the challenge. There's not much boost, but almost barreled it through. And Masai just about get away with it still. They've got more shots than Crusaders at this point in time.
Absolutely, and Masai are keeping their to try to push, to try to get up front and under the skin of Crusaders, but so far Crusaders stay strong in this series, and even with interesting saving tactics of bumping your teammate into the save, it seems to work out, and this might be the shot to the first goal. Not quite. Porp still on the goal line.
Yeah, pool shots are sadly quite rare, but even rarer is a pool save. As frightening as it is for a defense to watch. As long as it's effective, I'm sure they'll not mind too much, as Wyro does find Porp here to take it past Raids as well. Not quite the control they're looking for. Can't get it through those corners. The only sort of consistency though. Wyro here committing his third man quickly. Maybe not quite necessary considering the scoreline. Have to be a little bit more considered with their play still. 4 shots to their name, only 3 for Crusaders. Getting back through this corner. Blizzy can't read the ball too well. Maybe expected Wyro to go further than he did. Zax to go further than he did, even. My mistake. Yep, just jumps early. Expects a touch, and Porp reads it all the way through the corner of that post. And finally, they get themselves on the board after getting shut out in game 1.
Absolutely. In the end, kind of a huge mistakes by the side from Blizzy, as at the moment it doesn't take much separating these two teams. Both teams are looking very strong and very competent, and even a slight mistake might lead to 1 goal, and as we've seen in the previous game, 1 goal might be enough, and this game kind of shapes out to be in a similar stage.
And the lack of goals is something that's really surprising me. In my research between these two teams, their first series, I'm pretty sure Masai got 8 goals in one of their games, and Crusaders got 7. Yet, we've only seen 3 goals so far in this series. We're in the second game, and Crusaders do get their equalizer. Great passing play again, something I also noticed. Crusaders seem to be a lot more in tune as a team, looking for each other deliberately, moving up the field in pairs, sometimes even in threes, which is high risk, high reward situation. But if it works, if it gets past the defense, that's all that really matters. A great attempt off the ceiling from Zax, read well enough by Endrick. Keep it at least to the midfield line, maybe a bit further, should Blizzy say anything about it. Gets the boost as well, pushing the max, scaring them away as Endrick is forced to go back to deal with this one. Not nearly as threatening as he might have made it look, as a great 50 opens up. Zax almost read it, way quicker than either defender to deal with that one, but just completely misses it. It's back up into the red half of the field. Blizzy is forced to leave this ball alone, collect the boost. Enough to deal with Pop, but again, just controlling it through this corner, something they're really struggling with. And they're not able to find each other. Indeed
or not, but now Endrick has a good flick chance on Port, maybe not quite. Endrick puts it away for their first lead of this game. The question now becomes, can they hold on to it?
Certainly does. I feel so bad for Port there. I mean, the last defender was in the worst situation you could think of. Blizzy and Endrick both in that position. Who's going to go for the shot? You don't know until the last moment. Ends up getting Endrick to dribbling over. Full flick that we have ever seen or will ever see in the RSC. But as long as it's effective, it's all that Crusaders care about. Holding on to a lead, however desperate, is important, as Wyro didn't see Endrick in his rear mirror there. Does manage to get the ball across the way in time. As Zax and Porp have an unintentional, I would imagine, passing play. Didn't quite work out in their favour. Raids with plenty of time to catch this one. Opts to do it at the back of his car. Not the greatest option, as Endrick's forced to put this all the way across to the other side of the field through that corner, but he worked well enough. And with the last 30 seconds dawning upon Masai, they're going to be desperate to get back up the field.
Indeed they are. They've got 30 seconds left and the next attack is rolling in. Blizzy is capable of putting it away, but only finds himself Porp, who brings it swiftly in to make good bump there. Zax is there, and he puts it away, drawing the game.
Desperation seemed to be the way to go. It's great play by Pop. He just avoids Rapids, takes the ball around him, knows the defender's going to try and go up to get that one, takes him out of the play completely. Zax with a close encounter double tap, shall we say, off the backboard with that a long board dominus. And the equalizer staring down the barrel of overtime unless Crusaders have anything to say about it. Great play by Andric to take it over one, but Wyra doesn't want to waste the time of assuming that he's going to go for that flick. Dives on him immediately and brings this overtime into purview as it drops dead in the middle of the field, and a quick kickoff might be enough for Crusaders to get one away. Hendricks is cut off by Wyro, and Zach's there to follow up, make sure there is no second touch by Crusaders, but a free shot goes way across the field into the far post. I do not know what happened here.
I mean...
Oh, it's a backflip.
That's a good question. Well, that is very unfortunate there for the defense of Masai, and allowing Crusaders to go 2-0 up in this game, in this series so far. And I gotta say, I didn't expect them to be 2-0 up by this point.
Me either, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. Sometimes you backflip on the back post. My apologies, Pop, but I have to mention it because that's just, I mean, it's unacceptable. It's an individual error. It is not something that you could, talk out as a team. That's just something you cannot do. You have to be very mechanically sound to make sure you don't make the mistakes at the most crucial moments in an overtime. I mentioned before that I think it was Pop that was the last man against Endrick and Blizzy, who was staring down two attackers, not knowing which one's going to go for the ball. No, it's probably worse if you backflip for the OT winner. And Crusaders to take 2 games in the series. All that Masai can fight for is a draw at this point. And my prediction still kind of stands. Masai could bring this one back, and it has only been 1 goal in both games. But they've not shown that much desire, that much fight, at least in my box.
No, I think I have to agree on that statement. They definitely have the capabilities to come back, but at the moment Crusaders look like the team that wants it more. I wouldn't go as far as to say the better team per se, but the team that seems to be driven just that tiny bit more to get the W today.
And that's all it usually comes down to, especially between 2 well-matched teams as it appears to be here. That drive, that desire, who wants it more? As it stands, Crusaders seem to be answering the question that much better as we move on to Sovereign Heights, the latest field to join the flock in the Rocket League map pool. And one that's one of my personal favorites. I've really taken to this map, the way it looks, the way it feels, and it feels fantastic for Masai. 6 seconds in, Wyro continues his offensive output. It works so well for Porpia to get the first touch. Wyro's just too quick to it. Ends up actually being redirected by Raids. I'm not sure if Endrick would have got to the initial shot, but the only thing that matters is that Masai take an early lead and will be absolutely hot on the Crusaders' tails to try and double it up.
Definitely, they might have just listened to us and said, oh wait, we need to show that we want to win. And so they do. But Crusaders now, with a bit of a deficit, didn't hinder them in the previous game when they were down 1-0 as well. They were able to get into the lead again and get the W, as we see a near tie here by Blizzy. Beautiful save by Vyro, perfectly anticipated where this shot would be going. Masai again in the attack, but no one's there to follow up, but also Endrick booms it right back to their backboard.
And another great save by Pop to keep this fragile lead intact, as it appears as though what I would call a Rule 2, what some would call a Rule 1 is underway, a temporary 2v2, as I can't see their names. Who is it? It is Raids and Wyro, currently stuck, locked horns, their front bumpers grinding constantly, and the director cam's having an absolute fit trying to figure out what to do right now. But it is a 2v2, and whether or not these players have practiced this, have some experience with 2v2, we'll have to see if they're capable of doing it. As Blizzy once again hitting that post, a big double commit, leaves way too much space. If Blizzy doesn't score this, I would ask him to uninstall the game, because that's one of the freest shots and finishes you're ever gonna get. Clearly, Zax and Port did not practice in twos before this game, and it has allowed Crusaders back into the third game of this series. That is one of the worst ways I think you could have conceded a goal in that situation. Many probably wouldn't respect the rule, especially in a competitive scenario, but we like to have fun here at the RSC, and thankfully these players do as well, so respect for that.
I mean, I think it's a fun way to show that the RL community is about a computer game, that it is about having fun in the end, even if some players fight competitively and with all their heart, but it just shows such little quirks, if you call it, are still being respected overall in the community, and it's just nice to do it in a way.
It's the rules. It's just what you're meant
Exactly.
to do. And it didn't quite work out for Masai in that instance, but maybe it will the next time. As Zax attempts to get this one round raids, a decent enough touch to get it past him, but a double tap attempt by Wyro will be cut out. Still pressure on. Poppy with a great push down. Zax gets the man instead of the ball here, taken out of the game, but a counter opportunity for Raids and Endrix just slightly lose the grasp of the ball. A free touch for Wyro to take it around, an open net as well. Pop does not end up stealing it, and Wyro gets his second goal of the game, and I believe of the series, unless he scored in the last two games, which he probably did based on what we know about him. 11 goals in the last series, Senji, and he continues to be such an offensive output for Masai, and a crucial one at this stage because of it being such a low-scoring affair.
Wyre indeed did not score in the first two games. It was both his teammates, Porp and Zax, putting one away in the second game, and none of Masai getting a goal in for the first one. But as you say, he's a very strong attacking player, and it's no surprise that this game he's going strong, and he is involved in them goals. But not for this one. What a beautiful pass down by Porp, down to Zax, who has no trouble finishing it. And getting the 3-1.
Trouble indeed. Speaking of attack, they finally get a 2-goal lead. I believe they're first in the series. One that they'll be extremely happy to hold on to. Of course, the work is not done. Still plenty of Rocket League left to go here on Sovereign Heights. If I know anything about Masai, is that they like to score goals. They'll be desperate to get a lot more just to put the herd on Crusaders. Show them that they're the better team. If we end up in another overtime, I don't know which side I would root for personally, but Masai rooting for themselves. With reckless abandon, as Raids is forced to deal with so much here. It ends up being Wyro to finish it off, get his hat-trick, but it was all down to Porp here, forcing him in such an awful situation to deal with. Has to jump, expecting the more powerful shot. Ends up just assisting it to his opponent. And now a 3-goal lead for Masai. This is where they start to ramp things up, and it's something that's come back to hurt Crusaders again, that lack of consistency. In between games, they just seem to lose their way and struggle so desperately. Of course, as I say it, as I criticize them, they do manage to hit one back, and they're still well within this game.
There's still 80 seconds left for Crusaders to come back, and Wyro and his teammates in Masai, they need to stay strong at the moment, and they need to not get the 3-goal lead to their head as, okay, Game 3 is won, let's continue. They need to keep focus, and they need to keep doing what they've been doing this whole game. Otherwise, they might see themselves in trouble, as the Crusaders can be very dangerous when they're left with open holes.
See some lovely acrobatics from Blizzy to get it into that corner, but not quite the controller. Keep this one under spell. Great shot from Hendrik all the way back, and Raids is right there. Somehow sneaks through the lines, past the defenders, and back onto a 1-goal game with 50 seconds left. What a catch here. Great redirect, cherry picker, bottom right corner. Just quicker than the defense, just that rapid. Should change his name to Rapids instead of Raids. And we can actually see what he's capable of, but I still worry for Crusaders. They're going to make bad mistakes on a kickoff like that one. Almost opened up for Wyre to find his 4th. But it will not be so, still. In this blue corner, Raids were beaten out, and not enough boost to follow it up either. Didn't communicate that with Blizzy, which forces Hendrik to go forward. Wyre wasn't expecting to get that much space. Wide open net. Not on target, thankfully for Crusaders. Still, again, they're finding their way through the lines. That second man on Masai is really struggling to keep the ball out of the midfield.
They currently are, and the Crusaders are pushing. They want this overtime. They want to get this 3-0. And even if they get the overtime, I think the momentum is definitely on their side at the moment. But they've only have 4 more seconds, and this ball is headed the other way. Endrick able to clear it out and keep it alive. Endrick again with a shot. But that shot finds the ground before he does find any backlash. But as Archeon put it in chat, I have to agree with him. Raids should keep being named Raids. Because otherwise we'd be looking at the 3rd Rapids in RSC. Fair enough. Every Rapids for its own tier. Every Rapids for its own tier, but still.
Imagine if we got all 3 Rapids on one team. It would just be the Rapid team. It'd be the quickest team in the league.
That team would need to 100% rename. No matter the franchise, just rename the team.
Team speed. That's all we do. We don't score, we don't save, we just move very, very quickly. And we will be moving very, very quickly onto the final game of this series. And it's Masai. The onus is on them to drag this back to a draw. Still possibility for Crusaders to take it in a 3-1, as upset as they'll be to have missed out on the sweep after having drawn in their the previous series. They will have to hopefully not settle for less and get another draw, go 4 for 4 in week 1. It's not fun, but it's not bad necessarily in week 1 or even week 2. There's still plenty of time, plenty of chances to regain and to completely change the landscape of the table of the conference that you're in. And I'm sure that's something that'll be in the back of Crusaders' mind, but they have to ignore it. They have to think about the victory. They won the first 2 games, narrow margins, of course, as this one ended up being. Thought Masai might close that one out. They might look a little bit stronger, but it ended up a 1-goal game once again. Every single game has been that way, and I expect an overtime in this 4th and final game. Whether or not it comes down to a single goal again as the first, it shall be interesting to see. But we've seen the strengths and weaknesses of both sides throughout this series, so I've been entertained at the very least.
Oh, definitely. And I'm really curious to see how Masai is going to come out the box. This time around it looks good, Sax. But the follow-up just got killed by Endrick. And what can I say apart from what a beautiful play.
And a desperately important one as well. That was a follow-up. If there was no demo, then it would have been basically a free shot. As Wyro with a wicked-looking flick. Raids was just about in position to deal with it. Already bamboozled 2 defenders, and now another big demo on Zax. Masai finding themselves dropping like flies. Thankfully spawned on the right side of the field to somewhat deal with the play. Wyro with a free touch forward. He's got Zax up in position to try and get a touch, but won't. Instead, it's going to drop to Blizzy, coming off the ceiling this time. He's going to get a touch away. Expected maybe a quicker response, but ends up missing the ball still. So much space given to Endrick through this midfield. A free shot for Raids will be wide of the target. And Masai get away with it once again.
Well, now Porp in a 1v1 situation. Gets the ball maybe to a follow-up shot. Sax is there, but Blizzy capable of clearing the ball away. Wyro picks it right back again. Keeps it in the half of Crusaders and tries to find another attack, another chance, which Sax might give here. He gets the shot and it's on the backboard. The follow-up, saved by Rapids. Oh, how close.
Not Rapids, Raids. It could be Rapids later on, but right now it's him stopping an unbelievable attempt by Zax. It ended up being a 50 to bounce it into the crossbar. Got another chance, another great look at it, but Raids was somehow right there to prevent it. Keep this game even. This gets more and more exciting with every opportunity. Only 3 shots so far. Crusaders only having 1 of those. It's just come down to such a tight, tense affair in the final game. It will either be a draw, which is all that Masai can fight for, or Crusaders to get their first win of the season. It'll be a great start in week 1 to go 6-2. Not everybody gets that chance. They have one right here. A wide open net for Raids to shoot at, but he scuffs the opportunity, rushing things. Maybe they're not expecting to get that much time on the ball, which is surprising considering their presence in the midfield throughout this game. But Raids almost puts it on into his own net. That was terrifying. To go from a save to that. Oh my goodness, Senji.
As long as it's not in, he's safe of getting the fail of the week.
Calculated.
But That was way too close for confident Blizzy. What a save. Sax with the follow-up. Raids is there. Blizzy able to clear it out for a second. A little time to breathe. Quick miss there by Andrik, but no problem as Raids was the next to receive the ball. And again, this situation is not yet over. But now, finally, Raids gets a good amount of clear. They are capable of getting some boost now, getting themselves sorted again. But what an attack faced by Masai.
Thought the fear was starting to ramp up, the cracks were starting to show in the armor. Wairo with another opportunity, saw two defenders and maybe deliberately opted to go through the corner there looking for a teammate, but it just ended up in Raid's possession. Plenty of time on the ball. Blizzy completely misses, and Pop bettered on that happening as well. Loses out on the boost battle, but he does get it back to the midfield. Wairo jumps up to take it, but it's easy enough for Raids to clear it wide. Zax will be there to follow up. Blizzy just completely misses the ball. It feels like they're getting a little bit nervous here on stream in this final game. It's only the one goal to decide it so far. Whether or not we end up in another overtime, I didn't prophesize it. I wondered about it at the beginning of this game. And I wasn't entirely sure if that was going to be the case because of the way that the last game ended. But as the final minute draws forward, I'm genuinely starting to believe it could come down to it again. But hopefully not a backflip to end it this time.
Let's hope so, but as I can see an overtime deciding this one. Or at least definitely it feels like we're in a golden goal situation. Whoever puts it away first might get it! And Sax puts it away first. Now, am I correct or not?
Well, there's the curse. Of course, it's come to rear its ugly head as Blizzy completely trusted his teammate on the front post there. Just watches that ball sail past his windshield onto the front bumper of Zax. And finally, a tiebreaker. Took 5 shots for that Dominus to find its way through. But one is all it takes as Blizzy collects this in midfield. It's a bit risky to try and pop it up like that. Right on the edge. We're so used to Masai taking pot shots from the depths. As Hendrik doesn't quite enough boost to follow it up. Second touch. Will Raids have enough? He does. Can't get it on target, however. That was such a great opportunity to get back into this game. But right now, they've got to do it all over again. Blizzy with not the greatest touch, and Wairo's easily going to beat, but it's crossbar to save Crusaders. Give them just that one more chance. Wrong corner. Big 50 for Zax. Pop is denied as well, but the last second is ticked, and Endrick ends up putting it onto the ground to seal their fate and seal the series at a 2-2 draw. I mean, I expected this to go the way of Masai. If the second game went just that little bit differently, it may have happened as well. But the draw was my second choice, my hedge bet, shall we say, my fallback position, and that's what has ended up happening. And based on the series that Masai had for this one, very surprising. But I think Crusaders will be maybe not happy about the result, but they might need to expect that this is what has happened, because they couldn't control the ball in the final throws of this game, and it really hurt them on defense.
Definitely. And I mean, for Crusaders, they could have gone top of the group with a 4-0 sweep here. But Masai, having swept their first game, they are now at that exact spot with 6 games won, 2 games lost, topping their group. And I think they are pretty happy that they were capable of coming back from that 2-0 deficit they had in the series.
And, I mean, that's just what I assume they need to be capable of doing. They got the 4-0 sweep against Shrine, as I already mentioned. And so, in a series like this, they need to have that bounce back ability. It's what all the champions of season past have had. Ability to fight back, to adapt, to change things up. Whilst they'll be upset, of course, that they had to only settle for a draw. A 6-2 week is pretty solid, all things considered, especially where they were placed in the power rankings. So, they've already proven the doubters wrong to some extent. We'll be desperate to continue to do that throughout the following weeks in league play. But that will be the first series of the night over and done with, done and dusted. And I hope very much that you all enjoyed it. Maybe not the first portion where it was just me talking constantly without breaks. But thankfully we had Senji to come in and rescue your ears and myself as well. So thank you very much, Senji, for joining me. I don't know if you'll be continuing on. If you,
neither do I, to be honest. I
Happy
have
to do
no
so,
idea.
then I'd be happy to have you. But yeah, we'll figure all that out as we take a short break. We get into the next series. We'll be back with Haven versus Dogon in the Master Tier. Just a little bit more elevated gameplay, possibly. So we hope you enjoyed this series. Come back for the next one. We shall see you very soon.
Bye.
Lately I've been lately I've been high. It's time to quit while we're ahead. Don't think like that. I will love you endlessly. If you don't believe, don't you be like that. I will love you forever. If you don't believe in me, yeah.
You could be with anyone, I could be with anyone. You're here with me, you're here with me. You could be around, but
You could be with anyone. I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me. You could be around, but you could be with anyone. I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me.
you could be around, but
You could be with anyone. I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me. I said, don't you think like that. I will love you endlessly. If you only believe me, don't you think like that. I will love you endlessly. If you don't believe in me,
you could be with anyone, I could be with anyone. You're here with me, you're here with me. You could be around, but
you could be with anyone. I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me. You could be around, but And I've been chilling, watching the ocean with you. Baby, up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our growlings when people change, but not us. And we just chilling, kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding me up. Play me like a bass guitar, simmer down and mash me up. Tripping like I'm Jimmy at Woodstock. Me up, drumming round and go right forward. Shivers down my spinal cord. Oh, 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 oh. 'Cause you got me holding, holding. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. I look at people and I wonder all day, who are you and you are not the one in your way. And then I think about myself and I stayed. I'm a pretty boss with almost your brainwaves. I'm a freak in the sheets, but I got class. I'ma grab an ass if you want it. Best you ever had, give it to you back. Ooh. Talk about quiet with a big mouth. Listen for the doubt, then call it. Make you out for what you say to me. Look at every single date. If you got what I need, then oh, I'll take you on like a big deal. Legs you can unseal, key in ignition. Just keep me full like I had a meal once in a while. Feel all night. I know you like it, can't fight it. I'ma let you ride the wave. I'm New York and you're LA. Come together, feel the shock waves. walk away. For some reason, it wants to take you, having no clue. You don't want to stay. It will be there, taking your hand. You need to, I know you can't walk away. For some reason, it wants to take you, having no clue. You don't want to stay. It's no more. I'm the sun in the world no more. Do you think you are? Who do
Welcome back, one and all, to the RSC EU. If you're only just joining us, you missed out on the first series of the night in the Challenger tier between Crusaders and Maasai. That one went down to a narrow 2-2 draw, and I know quite a few people in the league not too much of a fan of draws, just because no one wins and no one loses. It can be a little bit boring. But we have two more series to see whether or not there's going to be wins tonight, and the next one will be Haven versus Dogon in the Master tier. And continuing along with me will be Senji. He rescued me from a solo cast in the last series, and now we'll be continuing on, at least for this series as well, Senji. So glad to still have you.
Exactly. Yeah, I've sacrificed my watching of potentially England falling out the World Cup.
Me too.
But it looks like they don't, so I'm not sacrificing anything really. So glad to be here. And with Haven versus Dogon, we do have two teams that have won their first game.
We do indeed. Two teams, of course, with 3-1s. Haven got a solid 3-1 win over Infinity, and Dogon narrowly beat Severance 3-1, although one of those games was, I believe, a Brazil, or like an 8-2 or something like that. Dogon beat expectations, beating Severance, who were quite high on the power rankings. But then something also interesting about this matchup tonight is that both teams were on the same conference as last season, and both of them got swept by Fenrir in their first week, so they're already doing better, both with a win on the board. But something has got to give. Either it will be a draw between these two teams and they will share the same game record, or one shall beat the other and be above them. Last season, Dogon did do the double over Haven with 2 3-1 victories, although the rosters were quite a bit different. We only have 2 surviving players from those previous rosters, Cookie from Haven and the Yellow Crab from Dogon, the only last season's players for those rosters. So maybe there's a little bit of animosity there, a little bit of a rivalry, but the fact that they're in the same conference makes this so exciting to me, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're capable of doing against one another.
Oh, definitely. The teams look very stacked up against each other, very similar, very on the same level. They do have one good thing. They don't face Fenrir in the first week, but Fenrir again was drawn to the same conference as both teams tonight, so who knows where those matchups will be headed. Currently waiting on one more team to join in as we take a look at the standings. And we can see both Haven and Dogon currently on 3 wins. If either one of those teams win, they will at least top the tier, either teamed up with Phoenix or take the lead in case of a 4-0 sweep.
course, as you could see, already played games. Haven and Dogon, the two of the last teams to play their second series this week. Rios Legion and Illusion, of course, at the bottom of the table. Still plenty of chance for them to go further up in that win column. But this, as you said, is a massive game for both sides. A win here will guarantee top at the end of week 1. And it should be quite interesting to see what they're capable of doing. We obviously saw the player stats, the team stats, what they actually did in that first series, and they're relatively similar in terms of what they were capable of doing. The goals for was 1 between them, the goals against was 1 between them, and the exact same goal difference. It really just will come down to, like last series, the grit, the desire. Which team wants it more, and especially in Master, where there can be accusations of there being less seriousness, that they maybe care less about it just because they're at a higher level and they just want to show off. A lot of the time they want to be that highly mechanical standout star player. But we see a lot of team players, we see a lot of people that really enjoy being on the same team with one another and building that chemistry, figuring out what each other is capable of, and going all the way, going that distance. And because both teams have already won their first series, it gives you an indication that they probably are pretty understanding of one another, what they're capable of doing. And now they have to come against one another. This should be fireworks, if nothing else.
Oh, I expect only fireworks tonight, but just out of pure interest in what do you think, Vector? Which team is going to show more fireworks, or are we going to see a draw?
The dreaded question. The one that I never... I mean, I do enjoy answering it, I can't deny, because you kind of put yourself on a pedestal, and you put yourself in the spotlight of what you want to think. But for me, it has to go down to Haven. They just seem to have that much more spark in their repertoire, their ability to push the ball forward, especially from what I could see in their first series. They obviously didn't do that great last season, in fact ending up finishing bottom in 8th in the conference that they were in. It was only by 1 game. I think they got 29 wins and the team bottom just got 30, but it's a new, fresh roster, and as I said, the only one left from that roster was Cookie Jr., the highest CMV on the team, so clearly wanted to keep him on board, B-Shake, and rebuild the team around him and hope that he's capable of doing a lot better this season. They've already started out well, and I think they will continue to do here as well. I think it'll be a 3-1 against Dogon. I don't think it'll be an easy win. I think it'll be an exciting matchup either way. I think there'll be maybe one or two games that's really high scoring where the defenses just take a nap, just forget that they need to stop the ball going in the net, and that's when it gets really exciting. But I do expect to see just tactics kind of cancelling each other out in a couple of the games where they're not quite sure to get through. Probably in the first game, but we might see some crazy kickoff goals, and then the pressure is on one team to have to get aggressive, go up the field, be reckless at times, and then that's when things get really exciting, and we see their mettle being tested. But we will be getting underway with the first game of this series, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, so am I, and we can see our first chance at the kickoff goal doesn't quite lead up to it, as Captain Quark is taking control of the ball, pushing it for a first time into the defense of Haven is on the blue side.
They are indeed.
I had to quickly check before I made the mistake.
Just kind of weird because both sides have got kind of like that white bluish motif, but the Dogon are ones that are quote unquote away on the away side for this series. But we'll still be looking to try and gain an advantage against their potential rivals at this point. As I mentioned, same conference, 2 seasons in a row. Still only 2 players surviving from those former rosters that are not Cookie and Yellow Crab. Actually have some animosity there, remember each other from last season. We shall have to see. But it started out relatively tame. 0 shots within the first minute, just a bit of a midfield battle, not much space being opened up for either side to take a gander at that goal line. It's a great stop by Tino to stop Captain Quark's attempt at the net there, with the Yellow Crab going up to the ceiling. However, plenty of time and boost. Doesn't quite get control of the ball, but Cab's up to read it. Wizzo didn't get the touch he wanted, neither did Cab though. Ends up putting it wide to the blue corner himself. And Haven get away with the first offensive onslaught that Dogon could bring to the bear. And Cab can't get a second touch to that one either.
Absolutely, and I think that's something we see especially at the start of a season or very latest at the end of the season in playoffs, where team at the start kind of are trying to figure each other out, understand what the other team brings to the field and what the other team is able to deliver. And so far, no surprise there. The teams are kind of trying to find a way. So far, a little bit of an advantage, I would say, to Dogon, who had 2 shots so far, with none on the other side. But this demos from Dogon could open up some space for him now.
So some dangerous defense there, dribbling the edge of the line. His teammate got demoed out, but Cookie Jr. to follow it through. Wizzo has to pump the brakes, try and hit this in a double tap. Maybe he went for the fake out. Didn't get the best touch on the ball. And then we'll get 50 away. Cab, it's hot on the heels of Tino. Doesn't quite get him decent enough touch to get it away from the danger area, but Cookie is in place to help out his teammate and get it back up the field as well. Tino with not the greatest touch, just ends up making this a back and forth battle as Cookie can only hit it to Cab. Not on boost though. Captain Quart forced to try and do something, but it is just continuous back and forth. And as you said, Dogon with the 2 shots, Haven with 1 of her own, but none of them have been all that dangerous. They just continually look to try and hit each other, maybe on the counter. That was probably the most dangerous shot we've seen so far, and they had barely any pace on it. We're just starting to see a few strange whiffs coming out at the moment, and I think that was a team save.
Yeah.
Tino stopped it on the line. Wizzo made an attempt back up the field. The counter cannot be finished by Cab. Both sides get away with something there.
Oh, definitely. This could have gone in on either side. Unfortunate, obviously, if you save your own teammates' shots.
Oh,
I know
God.
it from personal experience, but you have to just forget those instances and keep fighting. Lucky that they didn't get one on the counter.
Yeah, it can be pretty awful, and it's one of those things that you just kind of acknowledge it for that merest of moments, and then just be like, fine, it happens to the best of us. And it can happen to the worst of us as well, as this has happened to Haven. Yellow Crab finally gets one through. Cab to beat out. Cookie just falls off the post and is forced to jump. Has to just hope that this gets hit straight at him. But Yellow Crab ends up putting it to the left and actually getting a shot past his former rival of last season. And get the first opportunity on the board as well. They get the second. Playing too much time in defense here, wasting time in the aerial game. Cookie is alone, to be fair to him. Has to get this one up to the ceiling, but he's got no one to cover the second touch, and it's just a free shot for Cab.
Indeed it is, as they take the 2-0 lead, not victory. They are looking strong to get the victory at the moment with 1 minute left. And I gotta say, Haven is now... They need to show something now, apart from saving their own teammates' shots, because at the moment they didn't really have that much of an offense as Haven was able to produce.
I'm not sure if it was counted as a shot that was saved. They did only have 2 before Tino came to finish this one off. Amazing work by Cookie just to ram that through the defense, through the midfield, up to Tino, waiting in the wing. And a great finish, bottom left corner, to put themselves back in the running for this first game. Still plenty of time. You have to say, if they don't get something off kickoff like they did here, then they will desperately struggle for it. Wizzo with low boost can only look for Cookie in the midfield. Tino is forced to go for this as third man, and it's left a wide open gap for Cab to shoot at. Gets to double it, ends up being Captain Quart to finish it off, as the defender has no idea what they're supposed to do in this situation. Wizzo there's nothing he can do. He has to respect the shot at the near post. Cannot quite swing around in time to prevent the follow-up. And that 2-goal lead is restored. Dogon looking like the favourite so far.
Absolutely, and well played by them. As you said, not opting for the obvious shoot on the near post, but going for the option around the defender, which is harder to defend in the end.
But he messed it up.
Maybe.
It was fortunate.
Exactly, or as we call in Rocket League, calculated.
Oh, but that was not calculated at all. Cookie got a beautiful look at the net there, but he couldn't get above the ball. Denied by the crossbar. Still wouldn't be enough to get them back into this in an overtime as the seconds tick away, and all they can do is watch the ball bounce into their box and watch Dogon take the first game of this series. Now, Senji, I'm not necessarily one to go back on my predictions, but at this point, I am starting to wonder whether or not I jumped the gun in saying that Haven would take this through. And of course, still on the cards, it is only the first game. It doesn't decide anything in terms of the series, except, of course, from the fact that Haven cannot sweep anymore, but they can still win. They can still reap the rewards of winning 3 games, and I still believe that they'll be able to mount some sort of, attempt here, some sort of winning formula in this series. But just taking a look at the stats already tells a story in and of itself. 12 shots for Dogon and only 4 for Haven. They spent far too much time on their own back line. Not controlling the midfield well enough generally is that issue. Can't push the ball back onto offense, get those shots away. But Dogon did that diligently, extremely well, and it ended up with all 3 players getting their name on the score sheet, all 3 goals being assisted, and that is the hallmark of a great team.
Definitely, and as you said, you might feel tempted to go back on your prediction. I didn't make one, so let me say, I think Dogon's gonna win.
No. You cannot make a prediction once the series has started. That's like making a bet after it started. That makes no
that's
sense
why you
whatsoever.
can't.
That's why you ask me before I can ask you, which is completely
Obviously.
fair. I understand the game that we play. Hopefully, Dogon can play that game. Haven can play that game just a little bit better, this game of Rocket League at the very least, as we move on, as always, to Forbidden Temple and to a hope for Dogon, of course. Haven is under the Sanctuary franchise, which is kind of themic for a temple such as this, a beautiful arena, beautiful backdrop. Hopefully it'll give them some fortune, as it absolutely does. Nearly 20 seconds into this game, and I'm not quite sure what happened here, whether or not it was low boost at the back line. No, Cab's got plenty, just does not time it right. Maybe expected that to go a little bit lower, but it ends up sailing past him, and Haven take an early lead.
They do, and it might just be the arena that puts them up for it, that gives them that little bit of godly power they needed, that they were missing in the first game, as Tino is now looking for a next attack. Cookie Jr. capable of getting to that ball, getting it nearly past 2, but then runs out of boost. So no problem for Dogon's defense.
Could be some here. Tino back through the corner. Wizzo is already in rotation, and Cookie cannot commit as that third man's left a lot of space. He didn't expect Quark to miss there, and neither did Yellow Crab, as Wizzo diving upon it first through this corner, but Cookie can't keep up. His teammate can't get the ball either. Thankfully, the booster spawned in time, but he attempts to go for a back pass. It could end up being the worst situation he had ever imagined, but he gets back to it rapidly and saves his own graces. Recovers so well there. Great play by Cookie to make up for the error and to keep that lead intact.
And keeping the lead intact for all the World Cup enthusiasts, England just scored the 3rd.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's so good to hear, Senji. Not for you, not for your
I don't mind.
desires. But we'll see if Haven can manage to get 2 and maybe a 3rd as well in this game. They very nearly were forced to go through an equalizer. This is a 3v1. Yellow Crab easily finds Captain Quark. Absolutely nothing that the defender can do here, but it's once again the one player being left last. Is Tino to have to deal with this, has to respect the shot, but where's the rotation? Haven's positioning is really leaving something to be desired, and it's Dogon that are capitalizing upon it so easily and so happily.
And they are capable of it, and it shows the amount of skill these two teams have. Just a slight mistake in rotation makes up a goal for the opponents, and good try here with the demo, nearly allowing Cap to have an open net. Backboard again. This has now been 2 times on the goal line, and Captain Quark finally puts it behind it. Dogon taking the lead.
You know what they say, 3rd time's the charm. They hit the post, the crossbar. Captain Quark had enough of that, put it just underneath. Again, starting out in that offense, Cab is seriously having trouble finishing these chances. We saw it in the first game. A lot of times hitting that woodwork unnecessarily. Captain Quark with such a free chance on kickoff. That is not how you want to go into game 2. Haven, it's just a slight mistake. Wizzo assumes that it's going to be kicked out to the side. It seemed like he'd already committed to the boost before the ball had even been touched. And if it had just kept going forward there, would have prevented a 2-goal lead for Dogon. But Captain Quark with a hat-trick will not mind one bit, I'm sure, to get a goal like that. Doesn't matter how you get it, just that you do. And it ends up being Dogon to take that third goal. This is going to open up completely freely for Wizzo, though. And mistakes on both sides is leading to be a high-scoring game. And I did call this out at the start. I thought defense would just kind of take a back seat at some point and they'd start scoring freely. But I didn't necessarily expect it to be from such clear mistakes as this.
Yeah, neither did I, but it is exactly what you said, and it's going that way. Curious to what defense is gonna rack up again, get back into how they want to play, how they're supposed to play in a sense. But at the moment, it's open nets for everyone.
It's open season, shooting range. And right now it's
Definitely.
Dogon that are shooting the most. 8 shots in comparison to Haven's 3. But it doesn't really matter how many you have if they don't go in. They even know this well.
Oh, I
They
do.
have scored 2. I said Haven, not Senji,
Oh,
but
pardon.
you took
No,
that.
fair.
You took that in your stride. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's something that Haven will be thinking about quite a bit at this moment in time. Still plenty of time left, of course. Their efficiency is higher than Dogon's. Great catch here by Cab, though, and he finally gets one through. The space given, the space afforded to Cab here. Why is no one going? Cookie and Tino out of place, that makes sense. Wizzo was the last man, just had to wait, had to make sure that he wasn't overcommitting, and it ended up being his downfall. Hesitation is a goal in the back of the net, and it ends up being another 2-goal lead for Dogon to hang on to. Fighting back, battling for Haven. Forbidden Temple not being the savior that they'd hoped for. A big miss by Cookie allows space for 2v1. Cab didn't even need the teammate to work with. Just near post finish, and it seems like he's figured out his woes in shooting.
Definitely. Either that or he just wants to catch up to Quark with the 3 goals.
Might be part of it. That rivalry within the team. It's just motivation.
Absolutely. And it's the best sort of motivation when you're that comfortable in a single game and it's just like, okay, which one of us can score the most? That is what motivation is, when motivation is at its best. And as long as it doesn't hinder them scoring more, they obviously won't hate that.
Well, it's a friendly rivalry and it keeps them sharp. They're just trying to beat each other as well as their opponents. It can really make things interesting. But it's Cookie to fail to find the third. As Haven wasting big opportunities, clear opportunities. We saw it in the first game. Cookie got control of the ball, but he could only hit the crossbar. It's hurting them more and more, but Tino with a beautiful read off the backboard does manage to get them back within 2. Wizzo, decent pass down to Cookie, and the defense just can't rally back in time to deal with the backboard bounce. Tino can, though. Gets his first on the board, and hopefully for Haven's sake, a window back into this game and into the series.
They need something
no.
right now, but
Oh, no.
that kickoff
That's-
again, it's the second time this
Deja vu.
exact scenario happened.
And it was Tino again, and Wizzo again.
Yep.
What?
It's exactly
This
the
is
same
simulation.
as before.
This isn't real, Senji.
The question becomes,
That's a glitch.
why do they not learn from it?
Glitch in the Matrix, and another again. Tino and Wizzo on kickoff. This time they get I don't know.
The goal
what
on
to
the
say,
other
lucky.
side, Cookie!
And there's no luck in this. Cookie gets it. Oh, great 50, to be fair. 2 committed, and finally Cookie's getting the chances that he's looking for, finishing the chances that he's getting. More importantly, of course, he has scored 2 in this game, and it's just, I told you, defenses, they've fallen asleep. There's 10 goals in game 2. They only scored 3 in game 1. So I'm very surprised. Or was it 4 in game 1? It was one of the 2. Either way, in this game 2, it's probably going to go the way of Dogon. You mentioned it, that if they get too overzealous, if they're trying to score too much unnecessarily, they can leave a lot of wide open spaces in their backfield. But they don't give a good goddamn, because it's Yellow Crab, okay? Catches this ball as the third man, sees Tino, oh, you got your flip reset there, slight touch around. Wizzo maybe
And
could have done
bombs
better,
Wizzo.
but he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And again, a 3-goal lead for Dogon is just simply insurmountable.
It definitely is, and one thing, I don't feel like they're making a big mistake by going for the goals, because a lot of the goals that we've seen from Dogon were not of team plays, were not of overcommitting plays. Some of them, if not most of them, were actually just single plays, either from Quark or from Cap, who just went the whole distance with the ball, and at some point just put it in. And with that, they didn't quite open their defense as much as you'd think with such a scoreline.
Did not indeed. Of course, there is always the philosophy and the belief that it doesn't matter how many you concede, just important that
As long as you
score
score more.
So long as you score. That's the word I was looking for. Long. And it's been a long night, it feels like. I don't know what's happening anymore. But I do know that Wizzo left the game before it ended at the end. So maybe a little bit of frustration there. Obviously went to change the car design, as far as I'm aware, has rejoined the lobby. So we'll continue to be playing. Won't be a substitution just yet. Might see that further on, maybe for the fourth game. But what we do know is that Dogon are 2-0 up in the series and a convincing win in the second game as well. Yeah, the Forbidden Temple Sanctuary buff did not help Haven in the slightest. They did score a lot, but they conceded way, way more, and that's the bigger problem, of course. So whether or not they can fix that, shore up the defenses in the third game, bring it back down to a low-scoring affair, and pick out their chances rather than trying to force things, because I think that's, a lot of the reason that they got into those 2v1s, those 3v1s. They're just over-rotating. They're sitting forward far too much, and for whatever reason that is, miscommunication, lack of boost, etc., it leads to an unbelievable scoring output from their opponent, and they're not going to want that to continue.
Definitely. As we're now headed into game number 3, we need to see an answer from Haven. We need to see a different Haven. A Haven that is capable of bringing this Dogon side down, which I believe it exists. The question is, can they find it now in game number 3?
Both winners in their first series of week 1. Both clearly capable of bringing out a victorious performance. But then they face each other, and crazy things can happen. Wizzo changes into a Dominus, scores from the other side of the field. I'm not saying anything.
I mean, you don't need to say anything when it's that clear of a clear.
Just score from defense.
Exactly.
You don't need to go up the field. Just shoot from all the way downtown.
We know the best defense is a good offense. Well, if the offense doesn't work, just score from defense.
I mean, the Rocket League feels small
any
enough
sense?
that it's appropriate. It works in this scenario, and it caught Dogon out, which is the main thing. That's exactly what Haven are wanting to do: break their rhythm, destroy their chemistry in any way they can. As Wizzo all the way down the field, not on target, but Tino says no, thank you, mate. Crossbar down, beautiful pinch finish here, and that is exactly the start that they wanted in Game 3 on Sovereign Heights. And they are reaching the heights that we expected of them, or we believed of what they could. Still only 2 goals, still 4 minutes left to go. They're playing so much better.
They are, and they're utilizing the chances very well. They didn't really have an offense going so far, but they've scored twice.
Great cut.
One from a beautiful play by 2 players, and the other one from a good backboard clear. If they can continue on booking those chances that might not have been chances, really, if you look at other stuff that we've seen in previous game that didn't go in, they are looking good at the moment, and that's exactly what we love to see here.
It's a decent enough 50. Will eventually be lost. Wizzo to try and follow it up, but loses control as well. Cab to push it forward down the field. Not enough boost, but he has the demo. Yellow Crab with a free touch. Cookie, pre-jump save. Once again, being such a stalwart defender, a catalyst for his team. Great on offense and defense. This time, 2 saves to his name. Last game, 2 goals. Just does almost all of it for his team. Yellow Crab's already in position. Pre-jumped that a while ago to try and get it. No defender either. So if he'd have got that shot on target, threatening times for Haven, but they're still in control here. Great touch through the corner for Wizzo and Tino. Very high pressed as third man there, desperate to get more padding to this lead. Might be their downfall, but they're holding on so far.
Absolutely, and so far, even though I would say at the end of the game, the statistics will show that at least to this point, the ball has been more in the half of Haven, but Haven are just way more dangerous than they've been in the first 2 games this series so far. They know how to score by now. Question now becomes, can Dogon come back from this 3-0 deficit?
Really not entirely sure. Wizzo's doing some weird things in the corners that's throwing off Dogon's defense. They don't want to commit too early just because they're second to the ball, they're second favorite there. Then Wizzo just pinches it against the corner. Cab has to try to deal with it. They are panicking ever so slightly because of the fact they have to get aggressive. They have to get up the field as quickly as possible to break this deficit down. But it's leaving them exposed. And they're getting disruptive now. A lot of more demos coming out. I'm sure you've noticed, Senji.
Oh, definitely.
Whether that helps them or hurts them, who knows?
Cargo boom!
but right now, Cargo Boom and Dogon go cry, it seems. Still 5 shots for both sides. It seems even looking at the stats, if you ignore the goal line.
It does.
But it's just they're not finishing their chances. Another one from Captain Quark tried to cut it across the opposite side from which he approached it. So Izzo gets another demo out on Crab. Maybe frustration starting to set in for Dogon as well. They're getting taken off the field completely as Cookie gets so much time to edge. Well, this one tries to fake it out and gets the pinch down as well. I love pinch, even flip reset fakes. Look at this. Might even get the flip reset, and I think actually did. I'm not sure if he used it there. It looked like a wave dash, but it was so well worked and so good to beat Cab. Absolutely beautiful play from Haven in this game, and then it makes you start to wonder, where was this team on Forbidden Temple, on Manfield Night? Something has obviously changed, is what we asked for and what we expected of Haven. But doing it at this point, all they can play for is a draw.
Indeed, and that's what they're in for. They look strong to get that draw if they can continue their performance over the last minute of this game, and even more importantly, over the next game. Question is, can Dogon find any solution to this playstyle that Haven has shown in the third game for the last game? If not, then we might very well be looking at the second draw tonight.
As I'm sure will make more than a few people wince and whine a little bit, maybe. The fact that it is potentially going that way. I don't know if Haven can keep up this performance going into Game 4. Might change a few people's minds. Competitive nature of it is exciting, you cannot deny that. This time it is Dogon to be completely shut out. 9 shots. None of them threatening enough to make Haven believe that they deserve to go in. Pushed away, we saw that phenomenal stop by Cookie. He got 2 more. Might have been less spectacular, but nonetheless extremely important to prove to Dogon that they are here to play, they are here to stay, most importantly as well. Rally back and prove a big point that they deserve to be on this field just as much as their opposite numbers, and with a performance like that, it's hard to doubt them.
It is. I mean, we've seen a lot of shots from the side of Haven that just fell in on the complete opposite side. With 9 shots, Dogon had even more than Haven, and not a single one of them found the back of the net. And I think that defense led by Cookie really shows what Haven needs to do in the last game. Get the defense sorted, and as soon as you got this, the offense comes.
Well, it was 7 shots saved out of a 9 from Dogon. As you said, Cookie leading that defense.
Yep.
And may have led to why Dogon maybe got a little bit disruptive towards the end. Just try and get rid of the defenders if you can't get it past them. But they were unable to create those overload situations, those 2v1s, those 3v1s, nearly as much, because Haven figured out their positioning, their rotation, and understood their assignments. They didn't push too hard. They sat back a little bit, played the counter game especially. We saw it from the first goal all the way down the field. I don't think there was a single red player in their own half when that goal went in. Clearly there was an issue there. Haven just compounded upon it, continued to to strike at the vein. Struck while the iron was hot. They will be desperate to continue to do that in Game 4 here on the dark map of, I believe this is Manfield, maybe DFH, it's one of the two, but it is under the lights, under the moonlight. And hopefully that will be enough for Haven to hold on, get back into the series with a draw, but it's Dogon with the early pressure.
It is good demo there by Cookie, allowing the Yellow Crab not to get any more interference in offense. They're allowing for him to clear the ball away, as Cookie needs to step in here again, gets a good double tap on the sideline, but is not quite capable of following it up with anything important.
Demo on a Dogon player. There's some space for Wizzo to air dribble out, ultimately loses the ball. Forces Tino to 50 into the corner. Free touch for Cab. A bit wild. Has just sent it back up the field. Somewhat of a reset here. Allows Wizzo time. Flick over one, but Yellow Crab's there. And he's got a lot of time to get the reset as well. Doesn't quite get what he's looking for, but it's still dangerous to deal with. Thankfully, Wizzo on the backboard before any Dogon player realized how wide open of a chance that was. It's not started out quite as quickly for Haven. They do get one through to the post, and a follow-up is denied as well. They still can't get one through, and they're struggling a little bit more here. Perhaps Dogon have got a bit more defensive. It's still not giving them time to breathe, however.
As Cab is trying to push this ball somewhere down, goes for a demo, but there was no follow-up from his team, so even if he would have gotten a demo, I would have smiled, but nothing else would have come from it. Cab, though, with a shot, only finds a post. Can Quark force it mid? Yes, he can, but no one's there for Haven at the moment. For Dogon, my bad.
It's just another one of those missed chances that Dogon could come to rue. He missed plenty in the last game, but Cab just continues to hit the post when he shouldn't be. Trying to hook it in. Maybe deliberately trying to go for post and in finishes. I'm not entirely sure. The accuracy has led me to believe that has to be the case. If not, I just have to believe that he's not that great at shooting. Neither is Captain Quark here. It was a bit of an obscure angle for him to take a shot at, but they've had so many chances now, and none of them have gone. I mean, they've been dangerous, of course, but they've not been between the sticks. It's the most important part, and Haven have only got 2 saves away from 5 shots of Dogon. Clearly, something needs to change for them on offense, and Haven, I don't know if they're happy about this. I don't know if they're fine with staying in defense and just dealing with them. Time and time again, they hit the woodwork. Captain Quark is going to have to try again, but Tino is in position to get it out. And they're missing far too many chances.
Definitely. At this point, though, Haven needs something, and they need something now. Maybe another backboard clear straight into the net of Dogon, like in the previous game, to get them started somewhere. But at the moment, the pressure is on one side of the field and only on one side of the field. It's been relentless in the attack, but just not crucial enough to put it in. Tino with a fake there, I guess. Now has a lot of space in front of him, but Cap makes it back in time. And a little bit of a breather, but it straight goes back into the corner of Haven. I'm, at the moment, not feeling good for Haven.
Of course, they are in the driver's seat. Dogon having 2 games already in this series. Should they win this, overtime or not, 3-1. In their case, Haven only fighting for that draw, and it could be Cookie to get it over Cab, but he gets back in time. Bounced awkwardly, and it's allowed Wizard to take a shot, bottom left corner. Somehow Quark gets back to it. Now Dogon having to defend for their series lives. That could have been a great fake under, but he lost control of it, lost the momentum. Tino is there, but so is Captain Quark once again. Still not enough to clear it out far enough. Low boost means that they have to wait. Didn't seem like any of Haven attacker knew that. Knew how easy that was, but it's going to go all the way back up the field and allow Cab to finish this one off. Ends up actually being put into his own net by Cookie. They both jumped. Maybe Cookie expected Tino to get to it, but he just wanted to get something on it to save his graces there. As Tino, what a saves a few times in the group chat, the team chat, and probably in self-deprecative mode there, knowing that he went up, should have got a touch on the ball. And definitely someone should have been in the way for this one, as Cab finally gets one in off the woodwork. And a 2-goal lead late in game 4.
Absolutely, and I would say this finishes the series. I don't think Haven, with the performance we've seen in game number 4, is gonna find a way back from this 2-goal lead. Even there is still 30 seconds, but at the moment I don't see how they're gonna surmount the defense of Dogon, which basically exists of being in the offensive half the whole time.
No, I completely agree. They're just sitting in, sometimes in the halfway point of the field, sometimes just sitting on offense constantly, and they're getting enough bodies in the way, chassis, shall we say, to deny Haven, and then just going out on the counter. Cab defined his hat-trick, 3 goals for 6 shots. It was just too simple for them to get that goal again and get back into their winning ways. Will be winning the series 3-1. Now at this point for Haven, it is just about thinking back. What happened? What do we need to change? Maybe a replay analysis, maybe more scrims, figuring out what they need to do, because in game 3, it was so clear who the winner was, who dominated the field. Then they just didn't continue to do that. There must be one linchpin, one little thing that they didn't do right that changed everything. Whether or not Dogon put more pressure on them, had the better of the boost game, if that was the difference maker here, but we saw it there. It was 4-0 to Haven, then it was 3-0 to Dogon. There is something very obvious that's switching here, and it's down to Haven to figure it out as they were the series, but overall, it was a lot of fun.
It definitely was, but I think it also comes down to Dogon maybe seeing the opposition as too weak going into game 3, being like, yeah, we got this in the bags, and then getting swamped, getting surprised by the prowess that Haven had and that we saw in Haven at the start of the series. And for the last game, they finally racked their heads back around, so we need to win this, we want to win this. And with that, they have now secured themselves the first place tied with Phoenix, I believe, in their group after week 1. So they definitely stepped up and showed what they were capable of.
Yeah, 6-2 in their first week, nothing to scoff at. And they'll be quite glad about that. Obviously, not quite the opposite side for Haven. They got the 3-1 in their first series, and they've just gone the opposite way. So 4-4 in week 1, as I mentioned in the last series. Not awful. It's something that you can look back on and try and figure out the positives, try and work out the negatives, but I don't think they need to panic. Clearly they had something going in game 3. Clearly they were capable of more than what we saw from them tonight, but sometimes it just happens. Stream nerves, these things happen.
Whatever it is.
It's something that takes practice, and it's difficult in week 1 if you're not used to it. So yeah, we'll have to see what they're capable of going forward, but that would be it for the Master Tier tonight and for the second series of the night. Going forward, we'll be moving up, down even to Elite, and it will be Andrew versus Bladesmiths, Ox Gaming, and Forge, Forge franchise respectively, to clear out the night. I don't believe you'll be with me, Senji, for that one, sadly. You'll be leaving us, but I thank you so much for joining me for these 2 series, stepping in.
No worries.
When we needed to, so it's been a blast, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. I wish you all a good evening and enjoy the last game.
I will do indeed. Thank you very much. We will see you, Jailbreak.
rapping, still ain't know where you can find me at. Journey through the mind of an insomniac. I ain't never sleep, staying ready, keep an eye out for the fakes, for the snakes. Load a clip and I'ma pull it, something shakes. Never go to battle if you plan to lose. Life a game of chess, you gotta plan the moves. Middle fingers up, I'm not a fan of rules. Fighting for the right to live in peace and not like animals.
Bloods in my hands, got slugs in my gunners. You'll be notorious, we ain't no runners. Bloods in my hands, got slugs in my gunners. These warriors, they ain't no gunners. Bloods in my hands, got slugs in my gunners. Bloods in my hands, got slugs in my gunners.
Put on my strap, put on my beam, put on the map, put on my team. Take out every motherfucker in between. Know what I mean? Better myself, better my aim, better my rap, better my name. Killing rappers on my hang, I'm by their chains for the fame. Never thought I would it, now I'm running this. You don't wanna follow me, no motherfucker running this. I ran in the truck with the truth, trying to get it what it does. Battling and I ain't never lose. We some motherfucking warriors.
Somehow I woke up out in Beverly, fucked up, smelling like that bourbon. And I end up alone, I'm not certain. Yeah, the girls impolite in the club every night. That's how it goes when you Hollywood perfect. Hollywood perfect. That's how it goes when you Hollywood perfect. Ain't got no place to call my own. Feels like I'm better off alone. So sad inside and hopeless. These Hollywood hoes never notice. Can't get back on. Girl, I miss you. Can't get back on. Girl, I miss you. Somehow I woke up out in Beverly, fucked up, smelling like that bourbon. And I end up alone, I'm not certain. Yeah, the girls impolite in the club every night. That's how it goes when you Hollywood perfect. Hollywood perfect. That's how it goes when you Hollywood perfect. Woke up out in Beverly, fucked up, smelling like that bourbon. How'd I end up alone? I'm not certain. Yeah, the girls impolite in the club every night. Somehow I woke up out in Beverly, fucked up, smelling like that bourbon. How'd I end up alone? I'm not certain. Yeah, the girls impolite in the club every night. That's how it goes when you're Hollywood perfect. I've got a premonition, I'm dreaming you and I. All my darkest fears are coming outside. We got a billion races, we got this melody. And you can trust me, baby, we got everything. Call me whenever you feel alone, babe. And when you need to cry, I'll be by your side. Call me whenever you need someone, babe. And when you need to escape from 1,000 fires, I'm gonna kiss you wherever you are. And I'm gonna miss you, I will never lie. Call me whenever you need someone, babe. We're running in the jungle of love. Jungle of love. Listen to my conditions, I got you on my mind. You were stuck in my head and I don't know why. We got a billion races, we got this melody. And you can trust me, baby, we got everything. Call me whenever you feel alone, babe. And when you need to cry, I'll be by your side. Call me whenever you need someone, babe. And when you need to escape from 1,000 fires, I'm gonna kiss you wherever you are. And I'm gonna miss you, I will never lie. Call me whenever you need someone, babe. We're running in the jungle of love. Love. We're running in the jungle of love.
I'm alone, I'm a broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go, I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired with yesterday. Father. I fell where my demons dwell. My own little nightmare, I call it hell. Oh well, it's time to get back up, climbing and climbing. I'm done with this ride, is what I tell myself, so I could feel something else. Yeah, I guess I had my bad days, but it doesn't mean I lost my style. Darling, where were you when my heart was on the ground? I thought time would prove that you would stick around. I guess time stood still, a king without his crown. Now I'm breaking and you're faking, girl. You never made a sound. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired with yesterday. Father.
Welcome, one and all, to the RSC EU. Welcome back to those who have joined us from the previous series, and if you've missed those previous series, it was at first Challenger, and it was Masai versus Crusaders. That one went to a 2-2 draw, then we went on to Master Haven versus Dogon, and Dogon ended up taking that one 3-1, relatively narrowly even between those two. And of course, on to the third and final matchup of the night in the Elite TA will be Anju versus Bladesmith. Now, if you are joining us from the previous series, you'll notice that Senji is now gone, replaced by the wonderful Morris guy, and it's as sad as it was to see him go. I've enjoyed all the times that I've casted with you, Morris guy, so I'm glad to have you back.
Likewise, Vector man, it's good to be back in the hot seat with you, and I'm looking forward to it. And for those of you that have been watching RSC rather than following the football, it's a happy day. England have made it through, so I mean we can all celebrate now with an epic game of Rocket League, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Unless, of course, you're Senegalese, and then you're probably not quite happy about that result. But that's neither here nor there. Football is another thing. RSC is what we're focused on right now. And as we said before, Anju versus Bladesmiths is the matchup that we have on the docket. Two teams that have both won their first series, just like Haven and Dogon an hour ago. And two teams that seemed quite comfortable in the ones that they won. Bladesmiths especially, a 4-0 sweep over Embry, and 13 goals scored to 2 conceded in that win. And Anju with a 3-1 victory over their opponents as well. In Temple, even another Sanctuary outfit that's lost out tonight. And 10 goals scored, 4 goals against. Two teams, again, like the Master matchup, that seem like they've got a very strong start here. Bladesmiths, of course, more specifically. But it's kind of a situation where something's got to give. I don't know if it's going to be a draw. I thought the last series might. Didn't end up going that way, so I'm kind of expecting the same thing, 3-1 either way, but I still don't know which way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a question of how these guys are feeling, I guess. I mean, it's a Sunday night. Some teams might be recovering slightly from a long old week and feeling a bit tired right now. And others might be feeling gung-ho, Vector. I mean, one way or other, we're going to have an epic game on our hands here because they both, these players know how to play. This is elite tier. This is going to be absolutely mental. So I suppose it's the age-old adage: who's going to get off to the better start? Who's going to get the first goal? Might have a say in who goes on to win this one. But I don't know about you, Vector, but rather than us talking, I feel like we should just get into it and actually find out.
I would agree entirely, Morris Guy, and looking at the all chat between these players, probably a similar situation, and it's something that, like we talked about in the last series and the one before that, something that is the arbiter between teams of this nature is being able to cultivate that drive, that desire to beat your opponent, to be better, not just physical ability on the field, but also that mental and psychological advantage that one side can have over another. And that depends entirely on the players, their play style, how they approach the game, and how they approach the league, especially how seriously they take it. And usually you can tell throughout a stream series 4-game set which side truly deserved it. Of course, if it comes down to a draw, you just put it down to competitiveness, that neither side has that consistency to push on and be that better side, and I prefer that personally. I prefer seeing that competitive nature. Some don't, and they were happy about last series, not about the first, maybe about this third one. And I'd just love to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, you got to factor in as well, this is still early in the season, so still plenty left to play for. And yeah, definitely when it comes to sort of the mental game, if you can get off to a good start in the season, then that does absolutely wonders going forward into the rest of the season. But if you do lose and you do sort of come on the end of a heavy defeat, don't worry about it, lads. Still plenty of Rocket League left to play for this season. So you're saying 3-1, aren't you, Vector? But I have no idea at this moment in time. I hate making predictions so early on the season, but I think we're going to have an absolute slugfest, and because I am renowned for doing 2-2 draws, that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to say it's a 2-2 draw coming up.
Well, it could happen. I've seen already a bit of animosity, a bit of needle in the old chat between some of the players, so that rivalry is clearly healthy and alive, and it's hopefully going to be translated onto the pitch in terms of how they're actually able to play. I think we were just waiting on one guy to go to the bathroom to relieve himself and be 100% ready for this match, because there's going to be no breaks in between. You got to play, you got to get ready to hit the ground running. As I believe we've lost one player. Yeah, they've lost their connection. That's so unfortunate. And it's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will indeed go wrong. And I'm not entirely sure why that's happened, but no one's called for a restart. So I guess we just continue playing. I'm not entirely sure why Anju are wanting to continue going for it. Maybe they don't know the rules, that within the first minute, with no goals scored, they can request a reset. There we go, finally. Fox has said it. As we will be restarting this game and getting back into it. Unfortunately, we apologise for this mistake, something we could not fix, at the time. We couldn't anticipate this. We couldn't anticipate this happening. And hopefully it doesn't affect their mentalities, their ability to play. Of course, we know that there is some difference that can be made with that, them being iced out. If they're waiting too long, they've got to get warmed up again to see whether or not they're able to actually play the game that they prepared for. I don't know how much preparation they've done, if they've scrimmed before it. I know in the past that teams and players just haven't scrimmed at all, whether or not that was by choice or just forced into that situation. But it's crazy to me that you wouldn't take that opportunity to warm up, and it can really hurt some players when they're not fully ready for a series.
No, absolutely. Like I said, you want to try and get off to the best start possible, and if you're going into something really, really cold, you're not giving yourself the best opportunity. And I'm pretty sure, these players would have been scrimming. They would have been going for a gun ho. They want to sort of make a good impression, especially as they're on the stream, because if they're doing a lot of trash talk in game, then you know for sure they'll be wanting to make sure that they follow that up with a decent performance. So they'll be scrimming, they'll be ready to go. But it does make me wonder though, Vector, whether like teams, when they ask for this restart or somebody drops out, whether it is part of the mind games. I don't know. Part of me gets a little bit suspicious, but that's
Did he really lose connection?
Yeah,
did he just yank his Ethernet cable out the wall? Who knows? Who knows what they get up to? What cards, what tricks they pull? But yeah, I did say that, and hopefully we'll be able to get him back sooner rather than later. Unless they'll have to pull in an FA sub or someone from a lower tier, perhaps. Maybe we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm hoping to get underway with it as quickly as possible. Show you some elite level gameplay. We know how unpredictable it can be from seasons past, what they're capable of doing, what they're not capable of doing. Senji and I saw plenty of it in the last series, especially in the last game, where the pressure just gets to you. You start making obvious mistakes, you just start whiffing the ball completely. Sometimes you can't handle it, and it takes that momentary reset, that bit between games, to really figure out what's going on, and just calm down a little bit, figure it out. And maybe that's kind of helping them with this point. Is sort of a not the double-edged sword, but a blessing and a curse, in that they're not starting straight away, but they just get a little bit more time to breathe and a little bit more time to settle those nerves, and then really get into it. But for the most part, especially tonight, the first games have been rather tame, rather calm. Especially in the first few minutes, just trying to figure each other out, which is the same with the season as a whole, and new teams especially, trying to see what others are capable of. But we already know what these two are capable of. They won their first two series, Bladesmiths, in such a dominant fashion, and I really hope to see that again if we can get all the players onto the field to see what they're capable of doing. But speaking of the coldness, I've been pretty cold myself today. My hands are freezing, so I'm glad I'm not playing and they are, and I just get to watch them and see the arena heat up.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being a caster. I mean, we can just sort of sit back and relax and just sort of take things easy. But yeah, certainly, I know from experience, you want to play a game like Rocket League, you need to have your hands nice and warm. So yeah, hopefully these guys have been putting on the oven mitts or gloves, whatever you want to call it. But now it's time to throw them off and throw down and get into it, as we got the players back in the lobby. So let's try this again, Vector. Fingers crossed this time.
And fingers crossed for Axlos, I believe, subbing in here for Windy. If I'm not mistaken, the player GM for Bladesmiths. I'm going to come in and substitute in. And that's just the mark of a great GM, willing and able and ready to come in and be a replacement for one of your players when they need you most. Whether or not that hurts Bladesmiths, whether it throws Andrew off, will be interesting to see. It's a slow start already. Great passing opportunity though. Ramp things up instantaneously. Dakai and Arctic Fox link up with a lot of space left wide open on the edge of that box. Neither Axlos or Rapid ready to go for it and punished early on.
It did seem like Bladesmith had just almost fell asleep a little bit. It didn't seem like anybody really wanted to go for the ball and take up the first man role, and you just step on the gas and hit the ball in the back of the net. So hopefully Bladesmiths will wake up now, and that will just spur them to go on there. But yeah, good start though by Andrew.
Blades a little dulled by the fact they've had to bring in a player last minute, last second even, to substitute things. Of course, Windy would have been playing. Lost connection for whatever reason, could not restore it before this game began, and it's left them in such an awkward position, having to reshuffle things, figure out the rotation again, as they get fortunate that one's wide. Andrew still with the pressure on though. Dakai with a decent first touch, dived upon, still control to the midfield and finding each other instantly. Dekai with an amazing double tap. Arctic forced to find it through the corner. Still gets a 50 through. Jason didn't want to commit.
It just still seems like Basement are just a little bit sluggish there. Then I don't think Andrew are being put under any pressure at the moment. Can't blame him, indeed. So just need a little bit of a spark from one of the Blazers players, just getting them going. And Rapids, nice pass infield, taking both the players out, and where he's going for the goal steal. Didn't quite. He did get it in the end, but my word, yeah, I'll take credit for that one. The cast this curse strikes there as Blazers finally step up.
He'll take credit for it, and Rapids will take credit for the goal. To be fair to him, completely set it up all alone. Cut out 2 defenders with that slight touch. Axelos, all he had to do was hit it towards the general direction of the blue goal. And they would find one through and find an equalizer along with it. But still, they haven't looked all that strong. The only chance that they had was just on a big rotational error from Andrew. And I doubt they'll make the same one again as Dekai's right there to rifle it off the edge of his bumper. Cherry picker. Rapids throwing the ball away way too easily, and I'm not sure if it was demo or something else, but no one was at that back post. A wide open net, easy enough for Andrew to slot it away. For Dekai to find his double as well.
Yeah, that was a case of Cubby getting demoed and just couldn't spawn quick enough. He decided to go for boost off the spawn, and you know, it's a tough call to make, but yeah, just couldn't get back in time. But here he is now trying to make up for it. But Arctic Fox, nice stop at the near post there, taking the ball away. Rapids onto it, trying to work his way into the field there, and Bladesmith got it all to do again at the moment. But Andrew looking comfortable at the moment, and I got a feel as we hit the halfway point. They might be sort of building on this, and Bladesmith's just got to watch out.
Just got to take out the tip of the spear, it seems, Dekai. 2 goals for 4 shots, both Arctic Fox and Jason with assists. But he's been the difference maker here. And he will continue to push forward, but not with the ball. That'll fall to Jason. Not our boost to get any more out of it, but Rapids tries to find Cubby through the corner. A little bit too much spice on that strike. Wasn't able to control it either. Axelos, just desperation, that seemed like, flicking back into the ball, giving up possession. Thankfully, they don't get punished for it on the counter. Jason dives on this one, maybe cutting rotation unnecessarily, but they still got the ball in the corner, looking for each other in a rapid 1-2, but way off target. Bladesmith's happy that that one didn't get any closer.
That was their turn to try and mount some sort of response, and minute 40 on the clock. Still plenty of time for them to bring themselves in with 1 goal, but they could have a bit of a mountain to climb. It's Dekai. Absolute solid performance at the moment, and he gets another one for Andrew and gives them a 2-goal advantage.
Just give it to him again, just like the first goal. Kai and Arctic Fox linking up through that midfield. Far too much space, far too much respect given to that Andrew offense. Bladesmith's got to get someone out ahead of it. Got to commit. Boost or no boost, just get in the way, close down the angle. Don't make it so easy for him. This wasn't made easy for Andrew either, as Rapids makes up for the error before. Gets into the right position to get this off the backboard, and is just way too quick to it. Jason, I don't even think he knew about Rapids being there. But just as his name says, quick to the ball, quick to the finish. And now just a 1-goal game again.
That was all. That's quite. It's not one of your best puns, Vector,
No.
but I'll give you that one. That's still. You got it on the board.
I don't have any good puns. It just happens. Just comes out of my mouth, and I hope for the best. Just as Bladesmiths may have been doing there with that finish, but they got one on the board. With a minute left, I think they could get back into this game.
Yeah, I think Andrew just probably just feeling a bit too comfortable then, and they need to just remember Bladesmith was still a dangerous team, and got to make sure that they don't fall asleep on defence. But here comes Jason, shot on target, save on a line by Cubby. That's a bit more, but Arctic Fox with the follow-up, almost out of nowhere, stepping up and regaining that 2-goal advantage there for Andrew.
I've definitely cursed them there, haven't I? I said they could maybe get back into it, and then, of course, what happens, I keep flicking across to the scoreboard, Dekai had 5 shots before those 2 from Arctic Fox and Jason came in, and the first one that Fox took went into the back of the net, just proving how many wide open gaps there are in Bladesmith's rotation, and their defense is not watertight whatsoever. It's allowed Anju to get through, Dakai to pick up his hat-trick. I'm sure he'll be grinning ear to ear about. Still more work to do. Only a 2-goal game, and time, however little of it, is left for Bladesmith to try and make some sort of mark, try and make Anju believe that they are not pushovers. It's in the right side of the field. Decent connection by the defenders, did open up some space, but the third man is ready and able to keep it away and to give themselves the first game of the series. It was convincing at first, but towards the end, it became less and less so.
Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, you know, it seemed like Andrew just kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit and just allowed Bladesmith to come back into it. And you've got to be careful at this sort of level. You know, you want to make sure that you keep up your momentum. I mean, it's only 5 minutes. I mean, come on, lads, you can keep going for that period of time. But yeah, definitely, yeah, like you say, it did look comfortable for Andrew at certain parts there, and Bladesmiths were probably fortunate they brought themselves back into it. So they've got to do a lot better in game number 2 there, and just try and threaten, I think, Andrew a little bit more and put them a bit more under pressure.
Well, we have to cut them some slack, of course. Windy not being on the field and not able to affect it because of the fact he lost connection. Don't know if he'll be subbed back in subsequent games throughout the series, or if Axelos will have to continue to step in and step up. But it was obvious that from the minute, from the word go, you know, from the first minute, that the Bladesmiths weren't quite on the same level that we might have expected of them, especially coming off the sweep that they had earlier on in the week. And I do think as it goes on, they'll figure things out, but it's already started badly, and Anju already clearly know what they're meant to do to beat this team, and it is just about rallying back, finding their footing, and just holding on to what they already had. I mean, they got 2 goals. They got through it without being completely shut out. So that is the positive aspect to take into it, and just not leaving as much space in the midfield. If they cut out those 2 chances that Dakai had, it's a 2-2 game, and the overtime goes either way.
Yeah, and it's that man that you say, Dakai there. If they can sort of lock him down a little bit and just, you know, make sure he doesn't get as many opportunities, then they got to give themselves every chance. But yeah, we'll see though. Game 2, still plenty left, and they're still very much in it. But Dakai making an awkward whiff from the corner there, and maybe he's not feeling it in game 2, so maybe that's a sign of things to come. But Rapids flick over, shot on target, but Dakai, never mind, he's still feeling good in game 2.
I'm going to say they'll be happy to see him miss, even if it isn't them causing it. It's a big miss here off the sidewall, allows Dakai once again to find the back of the net, and this one was entirely Bladesmiths at fault. I believe that was Rapids that went flying past the ball. It may have been Axelos, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it has led to another early opener for Anju. They had to work a little bit harder for it, but it was no sweat off Dakai's brow. It's just, it seems like instinct for him, like clockwork. So he's continuing to do well, and they've got to keep him quiet. He's the clear conduit.
Oh, for sure. You know, every time he's sort of sniffing around that goal mouth, you got to make sure you don't give him an opportunity to sink it in the back of the net. But you know, yeah, awkward mistake there has led to that first goal. But it's only 1 goal, and maybe Cubby. Never mind. I was going to say maybe he could work something in the corner there, but didn't quite work out for him on this occasion. But got to keep possession now and just make sure you don't make any awkward mistakes. And yeah, just don't do that, basically, I think.
You can see Dakai going up, looking for that cherry picker again. Didn't even need it. Completely barren backfield here for Jason to just take a Sunday stroll. Send it into that same bottom right corner that they got pierced with for the first goal. And now it's only 2 goals. As every time it goes up by 1, it's like, it's only 2, it's only 3, oh no, it's 4. And then you start to worry just that little bit, as I'm sure Bladesmiths will be from this drop-down attempt. Axelos read it well enough, but still so much pressure. Big demo opens up space, but it seems like Bladesmiths got the better of things. Dakai from his back line going for the demo as well, but not going to get it. Axelos, decent enough touch, but they just throw possession away. It feels like with every other play, Rapids has done it again, and Cubby will not be quick enough to beat the third man, Jason. Axelos this time is going to miss it off the backboard. A free shot is such a floater, but Rapids still has to deal with it. Crossbar and out. They just about survive.
Oh, here comes Cubby trying to get something in there. Can't quite get it past the last man on the line. And I was going to say, maybe if Bladesmiths aren't quite feeling it, and you know they haven't got a full strength squad out, then just have that third man sit a little bit further back so you protect your back line a little bit more and don't give away, too many cheap goals. And you just got to just make sure you lock down your defence when you're going up against a team like Andrew with a play like Dakai. And it seemed like we were playing really well at the moment. But, as we're hitting the halfway point, 2 goals. I've seen bigger comebacks, so you never know. Bladesmith's still in it.
It's very much a catch-22 for Bladesmiths. They have to get forward. They have to get aggressive. Andrew made sure of that with the early openers. But they cannot forget about their back line. That third man pushes up. They're so exposed. And that one's just almost already on target. Ends up being Jason to put it there. But Axelos back in time, making that his first save of the game. I actually thought he had more than that. I'm surprised, considering the shooting output that Andrew are putting forward. The 2-minute mark crosses, still a midfield battle. They managed to hold it just about to a 2-0 deficit. They haven't shown much on offense. 3 shots of their own. They're going to look for another attempt here. Rapids, again, the ball just gets away from him. He's forced to use all that boost just to get back to it. And then by the time the next plays come around, he's out of position, out of boost, and out of hope.
Yeah, and that's what you need when you're 2-0 down, is just a little bit of hope. So maybe Cubby can spark a little bit of inspiration, but not when Dakai takes out Axelos' third man. He's now got Arctic Fox flick off the crossbar, but Dakai's stepping up. Manages to squeeze it in. No power whatsoever, but it just made it so awkward. And neither Axelos or Rapids able to do anything with that, and that's now 3 to Andrew.
If I didn't know Dakai's tank was empty there, I'd have thought it was disrespectful. He probably could have still flipped into it, but just the audacity to go backwards and to just chip that forwards. He's got so much time and boost now that he can take it to the backboard, but bumped away. Not able to get his second hat-trick of this series. I wouldn't put it past him to manage to get one in the final minute, the embers of Game 2. But it's still Bladesmiths under the fire, on top of the fire, whatever the metaphor is. They're being burned, is the point that I'm trying to make.
You'll get there in the end, Vector. Just keep going.
I'm just going to stop digging.
40 seconds left, and maybe Cubby. If they can just get some sort of consolation, it just seems like at the moment this game has just not gone their way. They're just not getting any sort of finishing touch or any clear opportunities, and maybe a little consolation goal might just give them a little spurt going into Game 3. But certainly, you can't take it away from Andrew though. They played absolute solid, taking clear opportunities. Jason, as soon as I say that though, Jason just missing an absolute sitter. But nevertheless, 3 goals ahead. Cubby, can you get the consolation? Not quite. And Andrew looking very strong in this game.
Without doubt, and they seem to have sacrificed a goal in order to prevent 2 concessions, and just made themselves all that much more dangerous. They could get a 4th here because Jason controls this ball. He somehow hits the post, but I'm not sure they'll lose too much sleep over it, as it will be maybe a 4-0 game if they manage to keep this ball up. Pass it back to Jason now. It's going to be a 3-0 victory in Game 2 and a 2-game series lead for Andrew in so much more dominating fashion, as Arctic Fox calls Jason, his teammate, awful, and criticizing his misses, which I don't think you can say too much. Arctic Fox, he's above you in the score sheet. A goal, an assist, and a save to his name as well. That guy with 6 saves, which is incredible. And you don't even think about it just because you assume he's going to be on offense. He's spending so much time on the goal line. But Rapids did have 5 shots. They had plenty of opportunities, Bladesmiths. They could not convert them, and that simply became the difference at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's a clinical finishing in front of net. I mean, Andrew, you got to feel like the first 2 goals were absolutely gifted to them. They came off the back of the mistakes from Bladesmiths. But the point is that when that opportunity came, they hit it in the back of net, and Bladesmith just haven't had that finishing touch. So they can still play out for the draw, and if they can get a quick goal, which they haven't done yet so far, they haven't seemed threatening off the kickoff, but You know, anything's possible. This is Rocket League. We could be for an absolutely doozy now, and Blasphemous might completely turn it around. I'll keep fingers crossed. I mean, Vector, I want this to be an absolutely epic. I want my 2-all draw that I predicted, but at the moment, Andrew looking very dominant, and it's going to be a tough old bout for Blasphemous.
It certainly is indeed, as we see a change, a substitution on the field. Bladesmiths bring in Con, the 4th man on this roster. Nope. Wrong team. I've drawn the Bladesmiths instead of the spectating team because I have terrible coordination and physical dexterity. So hopefully that doesn't affect them in any way. It's just added a little bit more spice to the game. As I was saying, Axelos is actually on this team, of course, as a player GM on Bladesmiths. But that makes me wonder, because checking the rosters, Windy wasn't on the Bladesmiths roster. I'm not sure if it was on the Andrew roster, but for some reason they were in the lobby. And they didn't end up playing the game anyway. But Axelos being subbed out now, maybe the change that Bladesmiths needed.
Yeah, I was trying to say Windy, yeah. Ah, who knows? Who knows, Vector? It's a Sunday night. I mean,
It's all up in the air.
It's all up in the air. I'm sure somebody in the chat can tell us exactly what was going on. But Andrew looking to get ahead again. And Kai absolutely dominating this series so far and making sure he gets his name on the score sheet in game number 3. Squeezes it over Con, and not much Con can do with that one. That's unfortunate for Con subbing in, but Dekai, absolute monster at the moment.
Yeah, just more of the same from Dekai, and I have solved the mystery. Windy is a player on Andrew, so I'm not entirely sure why he was in the lobby. They already had all 3 of them, whether or not they had to make that late substitution instead of Bladesmiths. We were completely wrong the entire time, or at least I was, and I misled you, Morris Sky. But Dekai, Jason, and Arctic Fox have been nigh unstoppable. Of course, bringing in Con, whether or not this was done because Axelos didn't feel like he was playing well enough and didn't quite fit into the rotation. I'm not entirely sure, but they'll be hoping for something to change, something positive to happen, as Rapids does finally stop Dekai in his tracks and sends it back up the field. So, positive trends.
Here's Con, the potential super sub, not quite able to get the touch he wanted there, and he's got a second chance now. A nice catch from him in the midfield. Arctic Fox gets it past him. What can Con do with this one? Off the backboard into path of Rapids, but unfortunately just not able to find his man, and instead ball rolls back into the Bladesmiths half. So Bladesmiths showing a few signs that they might be coming back into this one, but Andrew definitely still very much in control of this one with 3 minutes left on the clock.
It is a different situation, of course. Andrew have not scored twice in the first minute. Big change for Bladesmith's sake. And having to work a little bit harder to push through this corner. Will be Dekai to do it though. Con is the last man, can only throw it to the sidewall. Arctic Fox, plenty of boost. Push it to the corner, looking for that double, and Rapids had to respect it. Once again, that near post defense having to remain solid. Straight back up the field for Cubby. Dekai looking for a pinch, I should only assume. As Con does get it back through, Jason forced to go up. Maybe Cubby looking for the fake, but he wasn't quick enough to get to the ball anyway. And it's still back on the offensive side for Anju. They're struggling. They're not getting as much control. As I say, Arctic Fox with a free shot, crossbar bound, but Cubby still has to deal with it. Almost put it into a more dangerous area, but they get a mere moment to breathe.
Just a mere moment though. This is currently Andrew seeming like they're trying to build up on some big amount of pressure off the backboard. Jason trying to get in the end of that one. Slight double commit by Cubby and Con there, but they managed to get away with it, and Cubby pinching off the sidewall just to alleviate some of that pressure. Now, what can Bladesmiths do with this one? Falls into path for Jason though, sends it into path for Dekai, and uncharacteristically can't quite get his shot on target, instead sends it into the corner, just allowing Bladesmith just to chill out a little bit. Here comes Rapids, just giving away possession, and it seems like that's what they've just done all series, is not take command of it, not take command of the ball when they get a chance, and they just let it run away with them. And but there's still only one goal down. They still can do this one, so I'll be keeping my fingers crossed for sure.
Yeah, the hit and hope mentality, lack of forward thought in terms of taking the first touch. You've got to make sure you can get to the second one. But they can't get to this second ball as Dekai again finds a brace. Con again just throwing it away. There has to be a better clear, or just catch the ball and maneuver it through the field instead of throwing it away, which left a 2v1. Big demo, big goal. And late on now, Andrew have a 2-goal lead, but still very, very little in terms of offensive output from Bladesmith. Again, the ball just thrown away to Dakai. You're giving him hat-tricks for free. He's been made to look like an absolute god on the field. I can see what Rapids is trying to do here. He's trying to go for a quick pinch, get it up the field as quick as possible. You know, that microwave offense. But it just leads to soggy defense in the end. So it's really not that good of a decision to make.
No, I think in one of the earlier games I said, you know, in this situation, if you're struggling to, you're leaking goals, just make sure your third man sits a little bit further back, and it just seems like they're just not doing it. They're just trying to push super hard to try and find something out of this game, and when you're trying to force it, sometimes it's not the best thing to do. Good read off the ceiling there by Arctic Fox. My word, what a lovely touch that was. Then it's part for Jason, taking it up into the air, but finally Cubby trying to get some speed in this one. Lose out to the Kai though. And 30 seconds left on the clock. Seems like Andrew are going to take the series win. So it'll just be a case now for Bladesmiths to maybe just try and get a bit of a confidence boost. A goal would be handy, because I can't remember the last time they actually scored.
It was all the way back on Manfield night, where they got a couple. But Andrew got a couple more than them. And have continued to dominate. 3 goals on Forbidden Temple, 3 goals on Sovereign Heights, maybe a 4th, if they'll have anything to say about it. I'm sure Dakai will just want to pad his stats as much as humanly possible, but it's unlikely to happen. Whether or not they get a consolation goal, no, denied, of course not. Of course Andrew would not allow that to happen. Near post defense, as solid as you could possibly expect. And going forward, as you said, it is just a consolation at this point for Bladesmiths. It is an extremely difficult situation for them to be in, to only be fighting for 1 point, but that 1 point at the end of the season could mean the difference between play-ins and playoffs, between play-ins and not even being in the postseason. So you've got to fight for every single game, no matter how hard it is, and it proves that they're willing to scrap, that they're willing to get as much as they possibly can to have that fight in them, and prove that they're still a contender. They swept their first series. There's no doubt that they're a great team. It is just a struggle against teams that, you know, arguably are better than you. So they've got to do it for themselves, if not for their pride. Then we shall have to see what they're capable of doing. But Andrew, the whole package, there's very, very little that we can criticise about their play. Yeah.
You know what, Victor? All I can say is ditto. You know, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. I totally agree with everything you said, and maybe it's just come down to the, you know, what I said at the start. You know, it's a Sunday night. Whether Bladesmiths have just been a little bit sleepy, maybe they've had a bit of a siesta today and just not quite woken up. Who knows? Sunday roast, maybe, yeah, just too many carbs today and they're just not quite feeling it, not quite clicking together as a unit. But yeah, you know, like you said though, they've still got a chance to get a game under their belt, and we've seen it so many times in RSC. You know, come the end of the season, like you say, that 1 game win could be absolutely vital. So hopefully they realise this, dust themselves off, and actually try and battle and get even 1 goal just to go on and get the victory.
Just to get something, anything to give them the confidence going into week 2. Know how difficult it can be playing on stream, especially in the first week when you're not quite as confident with yourself, with your position in the team, how you're able to play. It would betray that based on the result of the last series, what they were capable of doing. It's completely been flipped on its head, how quickly your fortunes can change in this league, in this game. But Andrew flying to the moon and further if they can get it. It's Dakai with a great pickup in the midfield, cannot quite triple it past 2. And he's just going to be getting bullied, I think, by the rest of the league after a performance like this. They know how dangerous he is. They've got to start getting rid of him. Stop giving them the ball. As that was, to be fair, just to the backboard. No one could clear it. Past 3 defenders. Too good.
Yeah, but it's too good, but at the same time, the fundamentals for Bladesmith is just all over the place at the moment. I've seen a few double commits going in and just punting the ball away and not really retaining possession. And Dakai being on form in this series, he's just absolutely lapping it up, you know. And there's another shot on target. That one's going to go into the back of the net. I mean, again, the third man nowhere to be seen. Cubby getting bumped out of his way by his own teammate there, Rapids. and the fundamentals of rotation there. They're gonna, if anything, I need to watch this back and just kind of chat about what went wrong and sort these things out going into the next week.
It can be painful to acknowledge your shortcomings, especially in the public scene on stream.
Ooh.
But nothing short about this one. Colin with a great pickup through the corner. Dakai with a rare mistake, as well as, I believe, that was Jason through the corner. Not able to get a touch, and Con lapping that one up. Able to get the slightest of flicks above and beyond. Still, with a chance in the series, that super sub comes in, gets them a goal. The first goal in 3 games. And maybe more.
Long time coming, but hopefully we can see a few more of those. And I don't know, little bit too little, too late, whatever the phrase is. But fingers crossed, you know, still plenty left, and we've definitely got a game on our hands. Unless Arctic can. Oh my words! I suppose it's as you were now, Vector. I mean, lovely, lovely catch and touch off the ceiling there by Arctic Fox, and he just
beautiful control.
Just slams it home over Con. I mean, really and truly, Con should have done better in that one, but it just seemed like he just was in awe of Arctic Fox in the air and didn't really do anything.
To exonerate him just a little bit, my director cam did actually settle on Con there. I think it was Dakai put on the pressure as the fourth goes in. Free for Jason. Rapids doing the best that he can to try and get this through, but then just gets 50'd again. The back line completely open. Lonely. As Con ends up putting it into his own net. You know, going back to the one before, Dakai was bearing down on him and Con drove off the post. So he wasn't quite set to stop that shot. Still managed to get in front of the ball, but it just wasn't enough. Andrew were too strong, too defiant.
But it's just coming off the back of some basic mistakes. Oh, what a save on the line by Con. Don't know how much he knew about that one, but it certainly worked out for him. But yeah, that last goal by Andrew just came off the back of a basic mistake where you've got a man up in the air, and then for some reason your second, your third man just deciding to push really hard. Leaving your net completely exposed, and before you know it, the ball's in the back of your net. I mean, that's just fundamental basics in communication. So, going forward, lads, sort that out. Talk about who's up in the air and who's doing what, and you won't concede the easy goal like that. But hey ho, still early doors, still early weeks in the RSC season, so lots of time to sort out the fundamentals.
It feels like the symptom of a greater problem at times. You mentioned there, communication is often what it comes down to. Who should go for the ball, who shouldn't, when you're supposed to be wherever you are. Telling your teammates how much boost you've got, what you intend to do with the ball. But it also comes down to individual performance. We've mentioned it ad nauseum at this point now. The amount of times that players have just thrown away possession when they've had more time than they realised, and just trying to force things, trying to do too much. They've had to do that, of course, from the back foot because they've been in such awful positions. They've had to get aggressive, and it's so easy to fall over that line into recklessness and make such clear mistakes as they have. But you said it yourself, only the first week, and they will be going 4-4, of course, having swept their first series, so it's not the end of the world. Still plenty of time to bring things back. But it's just been all Andrew tonight. It's been a beautiful display.
And just absolutely tormenting, it seems, Bladesmiths at the moment. A few demos coming in left, right and centre. Gotta love it as a demo fan. I absolutely love seeing those. But a minute left on the clock, and you can't take it away from Andrew as well. I mean, they've turned up. Oh, nearly. Oh, and follow up, and not quite enough power on that one by Rapids, and nearly another consolation goal then. But yeah, you can't take it away from Andrew. They've turned up, they've done what they needed to do, they've secured the victories, they've taken their opportunities when they've come across, and Dakai, lovely save on the line there. That man as well, putting in a serious performance, giving him the MVP, I think, for the series. And
without doubt.
Yeah, fair play to Andrew for putting in a good, solid performance.
Dakai had 3 hat-tricks in this series, games 1, 2 and 3. I'm afraid to even look at his stats. for fear of envy creeping up. But it's well deserved, well earned.
I think we'll see him in the RS cast this coming week with the amount of stats he's put on the board for sure.
Probably a 7-1 week for Andrew. Of course, they did win their first series 3-1. And and all the plaudits go to them. Fantastic performance, damaging performance in terms of the psychology of Bladesmiths, I think, especially coming off of the series that they did before. Yeah, but going forward, absolutely phenomenal from the Ox Gaming outfit, and I'm excited to see what they're capable of doing to other teams as well within their conference, within their tier. If that's the kind of thing that they're capable of doing on stream in the first week, they understand each other clearly, and it's bearing some fantastic looking fruit. And yeah, I'd love to see what Bladesmiths are going to do as well, bouncing back from this one in the second week. I mean, they went 13-2 in goals scored and conceded in their first series. Something massive changed here. Whether it was just that Anju were a better team, it's hard to say. It's something that Bladesmiths themselves need to figure out when they go back to look at these replays. Hopefully, do more scrims and come back better, because that's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, we said it during the series as well. You know, it could have just been being on the stream and the sort of the nerves that, you know, set in, because we've all sort of pretty much been there and sort of done that if you play in RSC, and the idea of people sort of watching you, especially when you're just starting off the season, is a difficult one to handle for some people. So who knows? I mean, you know, that's the beauty of this Rocket League. You know, it's open. You know, it depends on who turns up on the day, and on today's day it was definitely Dakai turning up for Andrew, and when you got a player like that who's sort of popping off and keeping your team going, anything's possible. But interesting one though, interesting. I didn't quite get my 2-2 draw that I was predicting, and it was a little bit one-sided, so I'm a little bit disappointed in that, but like you say, Vector, it's exciting. I'll be keeping an eye out for these two teams and how they progress further on in the season.
We both ended up being wrong. I thought it'd be 3-1. It's 4-0. I was surprised. But yeah, there was nothing surprising about how brilliant Anju were. And I concur. I'd love to see what they're capable of doing go forward into the season. But that will be it for tonight and for the first week of RSC EU Season 11's League Play. We hope you have enjoyed all of the 3 series tonight. It has been a blast to do it for you. Thank you, of course, to Morrisky and to Cameron in the background streaming all 3 of these series. We hope you enjoyed. As I said, go follow all of our socials on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all those lovely places to get more and more RSC action. And yeah, we hope to see you next week for even more action. RSCast tomorrow, maybe, hopefully, to break down what just happened over this past week. And we hope to see you there for that one. And yeah, good night.